Chapter 1638. By the time the heavenly venerable evil spirit knew what was going on, it was already too late. He was immediately blasted into smithereens by Yi Tianyin. At least before he died, he could still know the truth. He could die in peace. After killing the heavenly venerable evil spirit, Yi Tianyin sat down to meditate and recover the body of the evil spirit puppet. If he wanted to move well, he naturally had to recover the body of the evil spirit puppet first. Otherwise, it would not be easy to move. When he had more or less recovered, he got up and walked out. After opening the secret cultivation room, he closed it again. No one would know that the heavenly venerable evil spirit had died here. Yi Tianyin had done all of this very skillfully and would not leave any clues. After coming out, he directly headed to the center of this area. He wanted to gather information from all aspects here and know what their mission was. However, after searching for a while, he really found an area similar to the mission hall. After he entered, he saw many evil spirit race people accepting missions here. This was no different from the other divine realms. They all accepted some missions to complete, but the missions above had been changed to other types of missions. Capture a genius with outstanding talent, regardless of race. Capture a talented female cultivator and limit it to the snow fox race. Clean up all life on a planet. These missions were all hunting or capturing missions, and they all looked extremely cruel. To the evil spirit race, they were no different from demon beasts, so they naturally wouldn't have the slightest bit of sympathy when hunting them. On the cultivator's side, they would indeed hunt demon beasts, and the treatment was about the same. However, cultivators would still be companions with demon beasts, and they would even become companions. The evil spirit race was one, and the rest were all enemies. Even if they became his subordinates, they would be absolute slaves. If he wanted to sacrifice them, he could sacrifice them at any time. Yi Tianyin's gaze quickly landed on the most important mission: setting up the teleportation formation. Setting up the teleportation formation was the most important mission. Although it was not particularly compulsory, this mission was relatively simple, and the rewards were relatively generous. Thus, most of the evil spirit race people chose to do this mission first. However, the requirements were quite strict. One had to be at least an Empyrean or above. Those below this level could not accept this mission for the time being. Setting up a teleportation formation in the enemy's territory was undoubtedly a difficult task. Therefore, one's own strength could not be too weak. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time and resources if they were discovered and killed by cultivators not long after they left. As expected, this mission is the priority now. Yi Tianyin's gaze turned cold. When he looked over, he saw a guard walking towards him. Sir Gukai has summoned you." This guard was extremely respectful. His cultivation was lower than Yi Tianyin's, so he had to be extremely respectful. "Lord Gukai summoned me?" Yi Tianyin was startled. He didn't expect Gukai to summon him. However, he didn't think too much about it and immediately nodded. "All right, take me there now." First of all, he couldn't refuse. He couldn't refuse a summon from someone of a higher level than him. In addition, he also wanted to see what this Empyrean god Gukai wanted to say. It just so happened that one of his goals in coming here was to capture this fellow alive. Soon, they arrived at the 3-story pagoda that Gukai had been in. Gukai was still sitting on the throne, looking down at him from above. There were no other Empyreans in the main hall. There was only Gukai. "Sir Gukai," Yi Tianyin called out respectfully. Your strength seems pretty good. In the future, you will be my guard and work exclusively for me." Gukai said indifferently. "That would be my honor." Yi Tianyin's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected that Gukai would be so stupid as to actually recruit him. He had originally wanted to find a way to get close to Gukai, and then finish him off without anyone noticing. Now he didn't even need to find a way. Gukai had delivered himself to his doorstep. It seems like you have more or less recovered. Now come with me to a place." Gukai stood up and led him outside. Yi Tianyin didn't ask anything and followed Gukai out. Under Gokai's lead, they walked to the top of the pagoda. After walking for a long distance, they finally reached the top of the pagoda. "Sir Gukai." The guard guarding the door stepped aside respectfully. Gokai nodded and led Yi Tianyan inside. After entering, Yi Tianyan discovered that there was actually a group of evil spirit deities inside. They were all meticulously dressed up, and their appearances were extremely handsome. They looked incomparably demonic. The more they evolved, the more handsome they became, and they didn't look as disgusting as before. However, he could still tell that they were the disgusting evil spirit race. There were all kinds of music playing inside. It was like a grand ball. Many Empyrean gods and Empyreans were tasting all kinds of blood-colored wine. It was probably brewed from the blood of some race. Other than that, there were also all kinds of delicacies. In the eyes of the evil spirit race, what Yi Tianyan saw was a pile of disgusting chunks of meat, and even eyeballs. Without a doubt, these were all cultivators that had been captured and made into a feast. They laughed and chatted as they tasted the delicacies here. Everything seemed to be happy and harmonious, quite cheerful. Yi Tianyan swept his gaze over, but his heart sank. He never thought that there would be so many experts here. There were close to 100 Empyrean gods, not to mention Empyrean gods. There were even more of them. However, Empyrean gods were all guards. To put it bluntly, they were just followers. They didn't have the qualifications to enjoy the delicacies here, and could only follow behind their masters. This was the difference in status. Other people could eat, drink, and play, but Empyrean gods could only stand behind. Of course, there were also many Empyreans who ate and drank as they pleased. They were not guards, but existences with status. As for some guards, they could still eat and drink. Their masters would naturally be more lenient toward them if they made a lot of contributions. What a big difference. Those with lower cultivation have to complete the mission, while those with higher status can enjoy the feast here. Yi Tianyan thought as he looked around and saw a familiar face, Heavenly God Torrential Cloud. He didn't think that even Heavenly God Sky Cloud would be here. He held a red wine cup in his hand, and he slowly poured the wine into his mouth. He didn't appear to be happy in the slightest. Instead, he wore a displeased expression. Chapter 1639. Yi Tianyan's gaze constantly swept across them, wanting to memorize all of them and see how many experts there were here. Especially to see who had a higher status, for example, how many existences at the same level as Heavenly God Torrential Clouds. If I can clear this place in one go, I'm afraid I'll be able to break through to the late Heavenly God level, right? There were so many experts here. If they were all killed, the experience points would definitely be explosive, and he would be able to level up continuously. However, if he really exploded, the first to die would definitely be him, and not the surrounding evil spirit race. Among them, there were no less than 10 upper heavenly gods, each of them incomparably powerful, comparable to Heavenly God Torrential Clouds, and even stronger than him. In this kind of situation, if he were to casually explode, the first to die would undoubtedly be him. Later, follow me closely, don't run around. If you act recklessly, be careful that you die here. Gokai warned. Follow me properly, I'll bring you to see the feast here, it'll be beneficial to you. Yes, Lord Gokai. Yi Tianyan nodded, feeling a little suspicious in his heart. He didn't know why Gokai brought him here. Could it be that it was just because of his strong physique, and he felt that he was not bad, so he brought him here? When he continued to follow Gokai, he immediately knew what was going on. In the center of this feast, there was a martial arts stage, which was undoubtedly used for martial arts. As for who would be sent up, there was no need to guess, it would definitely be the guards. This made Yi Tianyan immediately understand why Gokai had brought him up. It was because he wanted to be a fighter, that was why he had brought him up. As expected, these guys are all selfish. If I didn't bring them any benefits, how could they possibly let me come up? Yi Tianyan snorted coldly. Gokai brought him to a long table at the side, where he chatted with the other heavenly gods. They were all chatting about all sorts of things, and there was nothing about the mission at all. The things they discussed were all trivial matters, such as which family's princess, which family had a genius, what treasure they had found, or what race they had caught. As for work matters, they basically wouldn't discuss them at all. He came here to enjoy himself. There was no need to find trouble for himself. Yi Tianyan was just standing at the side. Not to mention eating and drinking, he couldn't even drink a mouthful of soup. He could only stand at the side. However, he really didn't want to eat these disgusting things. He just wanted to paste these things on their faces. In fact, he wasn't the only one. The other guards were also watching from the side, not daring to say anything. Their duty was to stand guard here, and do nothing else. Tianyan stood at the side obediently, waiting for his mission. However, he didn't just stand there like an idiot. Instead, he continued to survey his surroundings, paying particular attention to Empyrean God Tower Cloud. Empyrean God Tower Cloud, I didn't expect that after hiding in the Empyrean God realm for so many years, you wouldn't even be able to retrieve the evil spirit's pearl. You really are a failure. The nearby Empyrean God Vile Spirit said mockingly. Clang! Empyrean God Tower Cloud crushed the wine cup in his hand, and he glowered at him with a cold expression. If you think you're so powerful, then go take it for yourself. The Empyrean God is still lying there. If he wakes up again, he'll probably kill you with a single slap. The Empyrean God that was mocking him had similar cultivation bases. If he were to face the same fate, he would definitely be beaten back. If it were me, I wouldn't dare to expose myself so quickly. The Empyrean God chuckled coldly. He hadn't tried it yet, so he could say whatever he wanted. Humph, you'll know what's going on when you encounter that strange little brat. Empyrean God Tower Cloud couldn't be bothered to say anything else. Oh, are you talking about that human cultivator, who's ranked 5th on the blacklist? The Empyrean God Realm cultivator sneered. I'm not trying to criticize you, but you can't even handle a human cultivator. You've really tarnished the reputation of our evil spirit tribe. No matter how strange he is, if you can't handle him, then you can't. If it were me, I would definitely be able to do better than you. Is that so? Then go if you can. Empyrean God Tower Cloud said coldly. After saying that, he ignored them and continued to drink his wine. In any case, he had indeed failed. As such, he would naturally be ostracized by everyone, and would no longer be considered a meritorious contributor. Tianyan shook his head. It looked like this was the case in every region. Those who had performed meritorious deeds would be praised by everyone, but those who had failed would be ostracized by everyone else. Just as he was continuing to observe the situation, a female evil spirit tribe cultivator passed by, and Tianyan stared intently at her. She was carrying a tray of fine wine and all types of food, and she noticed Tianyan's gaze. She turned to look at Tianyan with a smile, but didn't say anything. Tianyan continued to stare intently at her, trying to glean something from her. She seemed to have sensed Tianyan's scorching gaze, and she turned to look at him with a smile. She even crooked her finger, indicating for him to follow her. Tianyan turned to look at Gokai. It seemed like he couldn't be bothered with them. Generally, as long as they didn't participate in eating and drinking, it was fine to walk around. After thinking for a moment, Tianyan quickly followed her. The female evil spirit led him to the corridor outside, and at the same time, she looked at him with a smile and said, "What, are you interested in me?" She even struck a strange pose, trying to make herself look more beautiful, so that she could attract Tianyan more. "Of course I'm interested in you," Tianyan said with a smile. "I'm also very interested in you, come here." The female evil spirit smiled sweetly and led him to a room. After closing the door, the female evil spirit quickly wrapped herself around Tianyan and exhaled a sweet fragrance from her mouth. She looked very tempting, but in reality, sharp claws grew out of her hands, and she was about to stab Tianyan's head. Tianyan grabbed her arms and pushed her away. He said with a faint smile, "What do you want to do?" Such sharp claws made one shudder. If one were to be ruthlessly scratched by them, they would be torn into several pieces. "What else? I like to do this. If I can leave a few marks on your body, it will be even more exciting." Her eyes were like silk, and everything about her was so tempting. "All right, stop pretending. You must be the younger sister of the heavenly god of luck. You've hidden yourself to this extent, as expected of someone from the Fecta divine realm." Tianyan immediately saw through her true identity. Chapter 1640. Tianyan was able to instantly tell that this female evil spirit tribe being was the heavenly luck god's little sister in disguise. No one could escape his detection eyes. Unless they possessed an extremely high cultivation base, or a higher cultivation base, he would be able to see through them with a single glance. This female evil spirit tribe being was essentially the heavenly luck god's little sister. Her name was Heavenly Misfortune God. That's right, one was luck, while the other was misfortune. However, it wasn't that her luck was bad. Instead, it was that she was able to unleash an aura of misfortune, thereby inflicting misfortune upon her opponent. However, if she were to unleash too much of her misfortune, her luck would also become very poor. Compared to the heavenly luck god, she had far too few benefits. The heavenly luck god could still provide him with very good opportunities, but it was very difficult for the heavenly misfortune god to obtain any good opportunities. Unless she extracted her opponent's luck, she wouldn't be able to enhance her own luck. Generally speaking, most cultivators' luck was about the same. Unless there were some who defied the natural order, the amount of luck that could be extracted was relatively small. It had to be said that the parents who gave birth to these two sisters were really powerful. They possessed two extremely unique constitutions, which was quite strange. He wanted to see just what these two sisters' parents looked like. Of course, that wasn't the main point. The main point was that the heavenly misfortune god wasn't dead. The heavenly luck god had thought that her little sister had been killed, but she was still alive and well. Furthermore, she was hiding here as a perfect spy. The heavenly misfortune god didn't have any evil spirit puppets. Instead, she had modified her own body and absorbed the energy of the evil spirit tribe, thereby transforming herself into an evil spirit tribe being. This was very realistic, and unless one delved deep into her body to study her, there was no way to see through her disguise. This was undoubtedly the ability of the Fecta divine realm. This extremely peculiar ability allowed her to modify her body to create a perfect disguise. Of course, as a maid, she was only allowed to casually walk around the area. If she were to face an elder, and if she were to be probed deeply, she would definitely be done for. However, she was still wandering around in this banquet. I don't even know what you're talking about. The heavenly misfortune god scolded. I don't know anything about the heavenly luck god's little sister. Don't spout nonsense. She had a seductive look on her face, and did not immediately admit her identity. She continued to pretend to be the evil spirit maid. However, deep in her eyes, killing intent was already surging. She was ready to fight at any time. Tianyan knew that she would not immediately admit his identity. His figure came out of the evil spirit puppet and said to her, "There's no need to hide it. I'm one of you. This is a puppet that I made myself. Just like you, I snuck in." What? The heavenly doom god was astonished upon seeing Tianyan. She sized up Tianyan, then looked at the evil spirit puppet beside him, and was momentarily stunned. After a long time, when he confirmed it, he said in shock, "This is the evil spirit puppet you made." "That's right, it's the evil spirit puppet I made. Your sister asked me to avenge you, or to find out about Gokai's situation. I didn't think that you would still be alive. You have no idea how sad the heavenly luck god is right now. If it weren't for the bigger picture, she would have come here to exact her revenge." Tianyan shook his head. This heavenly misfortune god really didn't know what to do. If the heavenly luck god went crazy, she would be harming her sister. Big sister. The heavenly misfortune god shook his head. "It's not that I don't want to go out, it's just that I can't. Even though my disguise is perfect and most people can't see through me, I'm still quite lacking. At the very least, I can't pass through that teleportation formation with my current body." "I see." Tianyan faltered slightly upon thinking about it. Even though the heavenly misfortune god had done a very good job, it wasn't absolutely perfect. There were still some details that she hadn't taken care of, which was why she couldn't pass through the teleportation formation. He thought for a moment, then said, "So you lured me here to kill me, and then use my blood, or something else, to continue to modify your body so that you can pass through the teleportation array?" "That's right," the heavenly misfortune god said in a solemn voice. "There's no other way. However, now that you have such a peculiar evil spirit puppet, I don't think there's a need to do something so disgusting." Her eyes lit up as she spoke, and she stared intently at the evil spirit puppet, trying to glean something from its body. As she stared at it, She even began to pinch it here and there, trying to glean something from it. It's so perfect. I couldn't see through it at all, and I thought it really was a powerful being from the evil spirit tribe. How did you do this? She immediately turned her attention to the evil spirit puppet. Tianyun shook his head. You really do resemble the Fecta region lord. You've seen my father? The heavenly misfortune god turned to him. What? Tianyun was dumbstruck. That old man who doesn't care about his appearance is your father? My father is indeed a little unkempt, but he's still very smart, much smarter than anyone else. The heavenly misfortune god wrinkled her nose. She was a little displeased with Tianyun. It was quite clear that she revered her father very much. Tianyun was completely dumbstruck. He wanted to ask who their parents were, but he didn't think that the Fecta region lord would be their father. He didn't refer to him as father either, so he had thought that they were just subordinates. No wonder he was so powerful. He had a powerful backer. All right, you are indeed very smart. Tianyun looked at her with a smile. In any case, it's good that you're fine now. Hurry up and hide in here, and we'll get out of here together. I've been gone for so long, and it'll be troublesome if Gokai comes looking for me. He dragged the heavenly misfortune god into the evil spirit puppet's spatial pocket as he spoke. The heavenly misfortune god looked around before letting loose cries of amazement. This is so miraculous. Even my father couldn't create something like this, but you did? Hurry up and tell me. I'll reward you handsomely. There's no need for that. I haven't even told the Fecta region lord, so why would I tell you? Tianyun smiled. Furthermore, this is a highly confidential matter, so I can't tell you. However, your father has a rough idea. I'll ask him when I get back. My father has a rough idea. The heavenly misfortune god's eyes flashed. As expected of a father and daughter pair. Their personalities were quite similar. That's right. Let's go out for now. Tianyun controlled the evil spirit puppet to leave. He had only just left when a guard arrived. Master Gokai has ordered you to go back. What are you running around for? The guard yelled. This was one of Gokai's guards, and he had naturally come to find Tianyun. I'm just wandering around here. I didn't come up. I'm just walking around. Tianyun casually made up an excuse. Chapter 1641. The guard was extremely displeased by Tianyun's actions, and he snapped. Didn't Master tell you that you can't wander around? You can wander around wherever you want. Doesn't that mean you can go to all the other places? How insolent. I don't even know how Master recruited you. If you get into trouble, even Master is going to be dragged into it. The guard was very displeased with Tianyun. Tianyun's reckless behavior was one thing, and the fact that he had been recruited as a guard right away made them even more displeased. They had all worked very hard to become Gokai's guards. Tianyun had charged in halfway, and even became their companion, which made them very displeased. I'm very sorry, I won't do it again. In order to avoid trouble, he could only choose to apologize. The guard didn't say anything else after hearing Tianyun's apology. He had thought that Tianyun would be stubborn, but it looked like he couldn't be bothered to say anything more. On the way out, Tianyun turned his head to look at Heavenly God Doom next to him and said, By the way, how did you escape? I heard from your sister that you were really taken away. I used my power of misfortune to escape, so I was quite lucky. The Heavenly Misfortune God explained. If it weren't for that, I would have almost been unable to escape. In order to hide myself, I could only choose to modify my own body. However, I don't have to modify my own body anymore. It's so disgusting to modify my own body into that of the evil spirit tribe. She wanted to modify her own body back, but after thinking about it, she wasn't in a hurry to do so. So be it, I'll think about it when I get back. Perhaps I'll even have a chance to appear. The Heavenly Misfortune God's cultivation base was not weak. She was a lesser heavenly god, and she had the ability to deceive most of the evil spirit tribe, so she might really be of help. That depends on the situation. There's indeed no rush. Tianyun didn't know when he would be able to use her, but there was no harm in keeping her around. Under the guidance of the guards, Tianyun returned to the main hall. When Gokai saw him return, he stared at him coldly and said, "Didn't I tell you not to run around?" "Master Gokai, I'm very sorry. I just couldn't help but wander around this place. There won't be a next time," Itianyan apologized. "There better not be a next time." Gokai was furious. He wanted to slap Itianyan to death right there and then. As a leader, he hated subordinates who disobeyed his orders the most. If they didn't listen to orders, what was the point of keeping them around? I really should have signed a slave contract with him. Gokai had forgotten to sign a slave contract with Itianyan. He had only brought him along temporarily, so he didn't think too much about it. Who knew that so many problems would occur as soon as they were brought up? Fortunately, they didn't go too deep, or else he would be blamed. Itianyan shrugged and obediently waited at the side. Due to his mistake, it was naturally not his turn to eat and drink. On the other hand, the guards at the side were able to taste the delicacies here, and they did not forget to provoke Itianyan. It was as if they were saying that this was the result of messing around. Itianyan could not be bothered with them. To them, these were great tonics, but to him, they were extremely disgusting. No matter how much they gave him, he would not eat a single bit. As time passed, more and more experts gathered here. They were all chatting with each other, not knowing what they were waiting for. Just as he continued to wait, he suddenly heard a sharp voice. "The evil emperor and the empress have arrived." Following the sharp voice, everyone turned their gazes towards the door. Itianyan narrowed his eyes. No wonder they had been waiting here all this time. So they were waiting for the evil emperor and the empress. The evil emperor and the empress of the evil spirit race meant that they were the highest level existences here. So far, the rulers of the evil spirit race were the two of them. As long as they were killed, the evil spirit race would become a group of dragons without a leader. Of course, it was just a thought. With so many experts here, how could he make a move? Moreover, their levels were definitely not weak. Especially the evil emperor, he was probably at the level of an upper heavenly god. After the announcement, the expressions of all the evil spirit races became serious. Their gazes all looked towards the door in front of them. The entire place became extremely quiet, to the point that even a pin drop could be heard. Following that, a handsome and demonic evil spirit race walked out from the door. He walked with a majestic gait and a faint smile on his face, but he gave everyone a formless pressure. The moment he appeared, he had already increased the pressure on everyone present. There were no footsteps, but it was as if he was stepping on their chests, making them feel exceptionally heavy. This was the evil emperor of the evil spirit race. His cultivation was at the late stage of the upper heavenly god, and he was incomparably heaven-defying. A dense evil aura spread out in all directions, especially the huge black crystal on his forehead, which seemed to contain a terrifying amount of energy. Itianyan could feel the pressure from the evil spirit race. It was the strongest evil spirit race he had ever seen. If he were to fight with the evil emperor, he dared to say that the evil emperor would only need to use a single finger to instantly kill him. Following closely behind was a petite girl. Her face was filled with a tender aura, and she looked extremely cute. She was an extremely cute little girl. Other than her luxurious clothes, her biggest selling point was that she was petite enough. She looked extremely delicate, making people want to protect her. When she came out, her face was filled with bashfulness, as if she was not good at the scene. She walked out with her head lowered, not even daring to meet the gazes of the many evil spirit races. This situation caused Itianyan to be dumbfounded. She looked no different from a normal cultivator. If not for his appraisal eyes, which proved that she had the purest evil spirit race bloodline, he would have missed it. Such a small girl was actually a royal daughter, and she didn't have the demeanor of a royal daughter at all. She was just like a cute little sister next door. This was extremely strange. How could she have such an appearance? Perhaps she was becoming more and more like a cultivator? As long as she didn't unleash her full power, no one would be able to tell that she was from the evil spirit race. No, she has the bloodline of a cultivator. Itianyan wore a grave expression. The heavenly misfortune god also wore a grave expression as he looked at the royal daughter. That's right, she has the bloodline of a cultivator. And it is the bloodline of the current #1 heaven creator race. The evil emperor captured the princess of the heaven creator race and produced such a royal daughter. Her terrifying power definitely surpasses that of the evil emperor. Of course, she isn't that powerful at the moment, but her potential is limitless. If this continues, she will be a huge threat to our divine realm. Tianyan naturally didn't think that she posed no threat. On the contrary, he thought that she posed a very big threat. She was so young, yet she was already an intermediate heavenly god. And her potential was even more terrifying. In particular, she also had the bloodline of the heaven creator race, which was the most powerful bloodline in the divine realm. Chapter 1642. Tianyan felt quite shocked. He had never thought that he would be able to meet these two existences and find out what was going on. Now, it seemed like they were going to hold some kind of ceremony. If one looked closely, they would find that the evil spirit race was also constantly sizing up the empress. This meant that it was also their first time seeing the princess, so they all looked at her curiously. At that moment the evil emperor said, "Today is my daughter's first meeting with all of you, and it is also her coronation ceremony. I am very happy that all of you could come despite your busy schedules." Coronation ceremony. Tianyan's eyes narrowed. It seemed that she was a princess, but not a real princess. If she wanted to become the real empress, she naturally needed to have a coronation ceremony. She also needed to let many experts know that she was the empress. "Now let my daughter say a few words to all of you." Evil emperor gestured for his daughter to say a few words. The queen stood up, as if she had mustered up a lot of courage. She raised her head and said with her young and tender face, "I, Huan Mingyue, am the future daughter of the Divine Lord. I will lead the evil spirit race to an even more dazzling future and rule this world. I hope all the elders can support me." Her voice was clear and pleasant to listen to. Her voice spread out, displaying her extraordinary strength. When Tianyan heard it, he almost spat it out. The content was domineering enough, but the voice wasn't right. This princess is really strange. She even wants to rule this world. Tianyan shook his head. "It seems that we can't let them succeed. That's for sure. If this place was ruled, it would be hell." Heavenly God Misfortune spoke with a cold expression. "It's just that we're too weak to eliminate them on our own. There are so many key experts here, but I can't make a move. Just the heretical emperor alone was enough to annihilate them, unless he allowed himself to be attacked, but that was impossible." Huan Mingyue's performance made many evil spirit races frown. The slogan was not bad, but it did not look very domineering, especially when the bloodline was not pure evil spirit race, but mixed with other races. It made them feel very unhappy. "Lord Evil Emperor, this bloodline doesn't seem too pure, does it? For a long time, the Empress has been based on the pure bloodline of our clan. It doesn't seem reasonable now, does it?" One of the elders stood up and questioned. "That's true, but this is the bloodline of the Heaven Creator race. If we work together, we'll be able to open up an independent dimension, one that's even more suitable for us to live in. More importantly, we'll be able to open up the barrier," the evil emperor said calmly. "I don't need to explain this in detail. You should know what that means, right? By the way, it's all thanks to her that so many companions have come over recently." "Open the barrier." They looked at each other. They immediately understood what was going on. The barrier had always been a pain in their hearts, and they couldn't pass through it easily. Every time he came here, it was extremely painful, and he even suffered many losses. If they could really open the barrier, it would mean that they would really be able to rule the world. "The sky creators can control the opening of the barrier?" Tianyan frowned. He had not expected this. "That's right. The barrier was created by them. If we possess their bloodline, we'll naturally be able to open the barrier." Heavenly God Misfortune sighed with resignation. This is why they chose the sky creators to reproduce. Thankfully, this Empress cultivation base is a little weak, and the sky creators haven't been able to control their power very well. Otherwise, they would have definitely fallen. Even so, they can still control a portion of their power. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to accumulate so many powerful beings so quickly. Tianyan finally understood why the evil spirit tribe was so arrogant. They had already grasped some methods to make the evil spirit tribe pass through the barrier as they pleased, but they could at least mitigate the effects of the barrier and make it easier for their brethren to cross over. Aside from that, Tianyan could sense a peculiar energy fluctuation emanating from her body. It was extremely faint, and it would be very difficult to detect if one didn't pay close attention. After a period of analysis, Tianyan's brows furrowed. There's a peculiar ball of energy within her body? He could sense that there was a peculiar ball of energy within Huan Mingyue's body. What was peculiar about it was that it didn't fuse with the Huan Mingyue. Instead, it existed independently. There's a peculiar ball of energy within her body? Heavenly God Misfortune looked at him with a puzzled expression. You can even sense that? I can only sense a little bit. I think it's the power of the sky creators, but it's hidden quite well, so I can't sense it for now. Tianyan was telling the truth. He could only sense a little bit of it, but it wasn't very detailed. The inspection I wasn't omnipotent, and it couldn't detect everything unless it was further upgraded. Alternatively, he could detect it more easily by touching the Huan Mingyue. Alright, no matter what, after we return, we have to report the situation here in its entirety. She already had a recording crystal, which could record everything that had happened here. She would take it to the Fecta ruler when the time came. Such a major event would definitely stir up a massive commotion. This was an extremely serious matter that had to be taken seriously. That's for sure. However, it would be even better if we could capture this Huan Mingyue. Tianyan stared intently at Huan Mingyue. She was a key figure, even more important than the evil emperor. The evil emperor couldn't affect the barrier, but she could. Hence, if he captured her, the evil spirit race wouldn't be able to send any reinforcements over for the time being. Capture this Huan Mingyue? The heavenly god Misfortune's eyes lit up, and he thought for a moment before replying. That's interesting. As long as I can get close to her and be alone with her, I can capture her. Get close to her and be alone with her? That seems a little difficult. Tianyan's brows furrowed. How was he going to get close to her? His current status was so low, and he would definitely be blasted to smithereens if he got close to her. As for being alone with her, that seemed to be even more difficult. At this moment, a powerful voice came from the side. Since this is the Queen's coronation ceremony, I'll first offer a congratulatory gift. I hope you won't mind. An elder walked forward and took out a longsword. It was a pretty good superior grade heavenly venerate spirit treasure, but it clearly didn't belong to him. Instead, it was a spoil of war that could only be obtained by killing someone. Since the evil spirit race was the first to give a big gift, the others would immediately follow up. All of them gave a big gift, so it was impossible for them to just say a few words of congratulations, right? Upon seeing this, Tianyan's eyes lit up. I know a way to attract her attention. Chapter 1643. What is it? The heavenly god Misfortune's eyes lit up. If they could really capture her, then it would be a huge contribution. It could even be said that it would have a huge impact on the evil spirit tribe, and buy them more time. It would take them a very long time to nurture the next generation. Didn't you say you were going to find a way to get close to her? Let's start by giving her an impression of me. Tianyan smiled before walking forward. Goukai was just about to prepare the other treasures to offer when he saw Tianyan walking forward, and his expression shifted. What are you doing? Goukai thought he was going to do something and immediately rushed forward to stop him. However, Tianyan had already walked forward while yelling, I am the sea evil spirit. I am here to congratulate the Empress on her coronation, and to offer a generous gift. Tianyan referred to himself as the sea evil spirit, but no one had heard of this name before. Sea evil spirit? What's that name? The heavenly god Misfortune asked. Isn't it very simple? It's a dead evil spirit. Tianyan replied with a smile. Pfft, I didn't think it would mean that. How wicked. Wouldn't they be cursing themselves if they called you that? The heavenly god Misfortune chuckled. Something like that. Tianyan turned his gaze forward with a smile. At this moment, all of the evil spirit tribe cultivators around him had their eyes focused on him. Why was a heavenly venerate offering up here? Normally, it was the elders who came first. Why was it his turn to offer up an offering? However, they were a little angry, but they didn't dare to do anything. After all, they had all come up here to congratulate her, so what would it mean if they chased him away? As such, they could only look on from the sidelines. Even Gokai could only look on from below, not daring to say anything. Tianyan arrived before Huan Mingyue and took out 3 dark spirit fruits. This was definitely a great supplement for the evil spirit tribe, or for those with dark attribute constitutions. It was a treasure that could strengthen one's own constitution. Unless one's physique was strong to a heaven-defying degree, the dark spirit fruit would be quite effective. From the looks of it, most of the evil spirit race present needed it. Even if it was an Empyrean god, it would still have some effect. This was enough to show how powerful the dark spirit fruit was. Tianyan had spent a lot of money to buy these 3 dark spirit fruits from a shop. After thinking about it, he decided to give the dark spirit fruit. As for weapons and treasures, the other Empyreans could casually take them out. They had killed countless Empyreans and obtained countless Empyrean spirit treasures. The dark spirit fruit, on the other hand, was different. It was relatively rare and difficult to form, so it was a good gift. After the offerings were presented, the eyes of the many evil spirit races flashed. They never thought that Tianyan would have 3 dark spirit fruits. How could this kid have a dark spirit fruit? And most importantly, he didn't even offer it to me. That scoundrel. Gokai was filled with regret. This dark spirit fruit had some effect on him. As long as there was even a trace of effect, he didn't want to waste it. If he could strengthen it a little, he definitely wouldn't miss this dark spirit fruit. This made him remember why Tianyan's physique was so strong. It should be because he had absorbed the dark spirit fruit. Thank you. Huan Mingyue received the dark spirit fruit with an indifferent expression. She didn't show any joy. It was as if she hadn't received anything. Tianyan muttered in his heart. He didn't expect such a calm reaction. It seemed like this was no longer exciting to her. Although Huan Mingyue didn't feel anything about it, the evil emperor beside him was a little more interested in Tianyan. He didn't expect someone to give him a dark spirit fruit. This thing was quite good. After Tianyan presented the offerings, he turned around and returned to Gokai's side. What are you doing? Don't you know the order? Gokai was about to explode. It had nothing to do with him how Tianyan died. The key was not to harm him. No matter what, he was the one who brought Tianyan up here. If anything happened, he would be responsible. The order? I'm sorry. I don't know. I only know that I want to congratulate the Empress on her coronation. Tianyan was very straightforward. Gokai didn't know how to refute him. That's not the point. Do you still have the dark spirit fruit? Gokai suppressed his anger and secretly sent a message to Tianyan. No. I've presented all of them. Not a single one is left, Tianyan said with a smile. Damn it. Why didn't you present them to me? Gokai said angrily. You didn't say that I wanted to present them to you, did you? Tianyan looked at him and said. Gokai was about to explode. There was nothing wrong with what he said. If he didn't say that, his subordinates wouldn't present them to him. Unless he gave them a mission. That was another matter. Good. When this is over, I'll teach you a lesson. Heavenly God Gokai wanted to teach Tianyan a lesson. Tianyan's rude behavior made him feel very uncomfortable. Tianyan shrugged, indicating that he didn't care. Soon it was Gokai's turn. First it was the upper heavenly god's turn, and then it was the middle heavenly god's turn. Who knew that Tianyan would break the order and not provoke Gokai's anger? This humble subject Gokai, this is a generous gift. At the same time, the rude subordinate just now was this humble subject's subordinate. I'm very sorry. He really admires the evil emperor and the empress too much. That's why he offended you. I hope that the evil emperor and the empress won't blame him. At the same time, I hope that the 3 dark spirit fruits will be of help to the empress. Gokai directly took the credit. Although Tianyan was a little rude, the dark spirit fruits were really good. He could see that the evil emperor and the empress were quite satisfied. Therefore he immediately took the credit. He didn't want the fat water to flow out. So he's your subordinate. This generous gift is not bad. The evil emperor smiled and nodded. Of course it's not bad. Originally, he told me that he wanted to present a generous gift. I said that he could only present it later. Who knew that he would be so rude? Gokai shook his head and sighed. This humble subject will definitely discipline him. This kind of thing won't happen again. It's fine. I don't care about these things. The evil emperor waved his hand, indicating that he didn't mind. Thank you for your understanding, evil emperor. After handing over the generous gift, Gokai retreated. Chapter 1644. After Gokai took all the credit, he walked back in satisfaction. After returning, he turned his head and glared fiercely at Yi Tianyan. Remember, these are all offerings from me. Do you understand? Understood, my lord. Yi Tianyan shrugged his shoulders. The evil spirit race stole the credit of their subordinates. This was truly shameless. However, he was too lazy to say anything. Who asked his status to be so low here? As the other evil spirit races began to offer their offerings one after another, no matter what treasures they offered, Huan Mingyue's expression was indifferent. There was not much of an expression on his face. It was obvious that he was not interested in these things. She looked delicate, but now she looked cold, without any emotions. No one cared about this. After all, as the empress, it was impossible for her to smile at everyone, right? After all, an elder in front of him stood up and said with a smile, "The congratulatory gifts have been given. Now let's continue with the banquet. The life and death battle on the martial arts arena. Our evil spirit race has always carried out the trial of blood to select even more outstanding geniuses. If you want a powerful genius to appear, you must go through the baptism of blood. Then now, send out your own guards and prove your ability." It was finally time for this kind of martial arts competition, and it was a life and death duel. This meant that as long as they went on stage, they might die. In this match, the three of you go up and try your best to get a good performance. If your performance is too bad and you can't even enter the top 20, then don't come down. Gokai said to them sternly. Yes, Lord Gokai. They all nodded heavily, including Yi Tianyan, who was at the side. Sure enough, as Yi Tianyan thought, Yi Tianyan suddenly asked him to join, just for this fight. However, Gokai did not expect that there would be a coronation ceremony for the empress. There was one thing that was fixed, and that was this kind of martial arts competition. This wasn't the first time this kind of banquet was held, so the general sequence was known, especially since the martial arts competition was fixed. Your physique is very strong. I have high hopes for you. If you can make it to the top 5, I won't hold you accountable for the mistakes you've made before. I'll even reward you handsomely and train you well, Gokai said to Yi Tianyan. Fight my way into the top 5? Sir Gokai, you think too highly of me. Yi Tianyan revealed a faint smile. Looking at Yi Tianyan's rude attitude, Gokai was exasperated, but he didn't make a move. No matter what, you have to fight with all your might, understand? Isn't that for sure? If I didn't go all out, wouldn't I have died on the stage? Said Yi Tianyan with a smile. You're getting more and more impudent. Veins popped on Gokai's forehead. He didn't know what Yi Tianyan was doing. He had been refuting him since the beginning. No, I'm just stating the facts. Yi Tianyan smiled. He was just casually provoking Gokai, but things were different now. He had already become the center of attention, so there was no way he would attack him. If it were before, Gokai would have dragged him down and gotten rid of him. This was the effect he wanted now. After everything was over, they would be alone together. Empyrean God Gokai definitely wanted to torture him or kill him. This would create a separate space, and the two of them would attack together to take down this guy. Although Gokai didn't kill the heavenly misfortune god, he had still captured him. If it weren't for the fact that she had some abilities, she would probably have suffered a calamity. At the same time, he also wanted to give the heavenly luck god an explanation, and capture him, so that the heavenly luck god could join him. Good. I hope you don't disappoint me. Gokai suppressed his anger. Very soon, they selected the powerhouses they sent out. They were all heavenly venerables, and heavenly gods wouldn't participate in this competition. There were nearly 100 heavenly venerables on stage. This was a relatively large group. If they were sent out to fight, they would be able to suppress most of the rank 4 divine realms. This was only a portion of the evil spirit race. Not all of the heavenly venerables had gathered. If all of them had gathered, the number would have increased by several times. Looks like everyone has chosen their participants. This is a life and death battle. Unless you're sent flying out of the arena, admitting defeat is invalid. The elder standing at the side of the arena said with a smile, "If you can get into the top 5, you will receive a reward from the evil emperor. This is the same as before, but the reward will be different." Many evil spirit race participants' eyes lit up. Their goal was basically to get into the top 5. If they could get in, they would receive a reward from the evil emperor. I will announce what the reward is after this is over. The reward won't disappoint you. The evil emperor sat on his throne and rested his chin on his hand as he looked over with a sinister expression. The evil emperor definitely wouldn't be bad. The reward would only be good, not bad. From their expressions, Etianyan knew that the reward would definitely be amazing. Soon they all entered the arena, and the battles were in full swing, reaching a white-hot state. They were really going all out for the top 5. They used all kinds of techniques, and all of them were fatal. They didn't seem like they were from the same race at all. Instead, they seemed like they were foreign races or enemies. It really is a life and death battle. The evil spirit race really admires this method. Etianyan frowned. He didn't like this kind of life and death battle. Although it could temper them and be more effective than a normal duel, the loser might very well die. This way, the number of talents wasted would increase greatly. However, the evil spirit race was different. What they needed was this kind of baptism in blood. What about you? Are you planning to get into the top 5? The heavenly doom god asked. No, not into the top 5. I'm going to take first place. Etianyan looked up with an intense gaze. And I'm not going to let a single one of them go. I'm going to kill all of them if I can. Take first place? The heavenly doom god was shocked. Isn't that a little difficult? Your evil spirit puppet looks quite good, but it's still going to be quite difficult. The evil spirit puppet was only at the upper heavenly venerate initial stage, so there was still a significant gap between it and the other heavenly venerates at the pinnacle of the upper heavenly venerate level. I have you, don't I? If I release some of my aura of misfortune, they'll be a little more unlucky. Etianyan looked at the heavenly doom god with a smile. I almost forgot. The heavenly doom god's eyes lit up. Then let's work together happily. Of course. Chapter 1645. After one battle after another, casualties soon began to appear, and the battle was extremely tragic. Even the winner would be seriously injured. As for the loser, needless to say, he would die a very miserable death. They unleashed all of their powers, and even used their awakening crystals. Awakening crystals weren't very rare here. Normally, heavenly venerables and above would have one or two, which could allow them to completely unleash their power. Some of them had only just entered the arena, but they immediately awakened their bloodline power. They were really going all out. Do they all have to rely on these awakening crystals to awaken? Etianyan looked at all of them using awakening crystals, and it looked like they were quite powerful. Rather than awakening crystals, they should be called resistance crystals. They don't belong to this world, so when they came here, their power was suppressed, and they couldn't easily unleash it. That's why they need awakening crystals to form resistance on the surface, Heavenly God Misfortune explained. So that's how it is. Etianyan didn't know about this, so they had probably only discovered this recently. Soon it was Etianyan's turn. He had only just entered the arena, but his opponent immediately activated his awakening power just like the other evil spirit tribe members. Even though his cultivation base was a level higher than Etianyan's, he still activated his awakening power without any hesitation. 10 arms and a pair of wings immediately appeared on his body, giving him a very sinister appearance. In particular, his terrifyingly handsome face made Etianyan want to beat him up even more. Before his awakening, he was either very ordinary or very ugly, but after his awakening, He had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. Die. His opponent didn't say much to him before immediately charging over. He unleashed all of his heavenly venerate spirit treasures in an attempt to kill him in one strike. Tianyan couldn't awaken his power, nor did he have an awakening crystal, so he couldn't awaken his own power like his opponent. However, that wasn't important. Heavenly God Misfortune immediately unleashed an invisible power of misfortune. This power was very difficult to detect, so he wasn't afraid of being discovered by the evil emperor. After unleashing the power of misfortune, it immediately enveloped his opponent. When his opponent was attacking him fiercely, he suddenly swung his weapon. It circled in midair and actually cut his arm. As they had all used their full strength, the weapon had directly cut off several of his arms. For a moment, all the evil spirit races were dumbfounded. Why did I cut myself? This was too strange. No matter how he missed, he couldn't have cut himself, right? But now, this upper-level Empyrean had cut himself. The mistake he made was just too stupid. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Tianyan immediately turned into a ball of black light and fiercely attacked his opponent. Devour heaven and earth. One of the ultimate techniques of the evil spirit race was executed by Tianyan. It directly swept over and easily swallowed the head of the heavenly venerate. Successfully killed evil spirit race, late upper heavenly master, gaining 20,000 EXP, 5,000 crazy point 5,000 sin point, evil spirit blood, evil spirit soul, evil spirit bone. Piles of EXP popped up, and more importantly, he had obtained a lot of evil spirit race materials. This way he could continue to upgrade the evil spirit puppet. Perfect. Tianyan smiled. Everything was so easy. He took advantage of the gap between the opponent and directly killed him, and then easily harvested his life. Your power of misfortune is really strong. You can easily affect a heavenly venerate. Tianyan couldn't help but praise. Isn't that for sure? If I can't even affect this, then I am not a heavenly god. Heavenly God Misfortune smiled and said, and let alone a heavenly venerate, I can even affect a heavenly god. This way, I can easily kill my way up. Tianyan was very satisfied with this result. This is the effect he wanted. It seems that it was the opponent's own mistake, not his doing. Even if he knew that it was his doing, it was his own strength, it would not be judged as cheating. What the hell, it's over just like that. That guy is too stupid. As a heavenly venerate, how can his control be so bad? Forget it, this guy is really lucky he met such a stupid opponent and easily killed him. Why didn't I meet him? That idiot must have eaten too much just then, which is why he made such a stupid mistake. All of them were very disdainful of Tianyan's opponent. It would be one thing if his cultivation base was very weak, but it was far too stupid for someone with such a high cultivation base to make such a mistake. Goukai was quite satisfied with this result. Regardless of the situation, as long as Tianyan could continue to win, it would be beneficial to him. Following this, the battles continued, and due to the fact that they could only compete in one battle at a time, there was still some time for them to rest. However, when it was their turn next, they would have to compete in the next round, and they would not be able to continue recovering. This would not end until the first place was revealed. This meant that those who were severely injured and unable to move would either have to admit defeat or continue fighting. As such, recovery speed was very important. All of them quickly consumed all types of pills or swallowed all types of blood to recover. Tianyan didn't really care, and he pretended to recover slightly before proceeding to the next battle. The same thing happened in the next battle. Due to Heavenly God Misfortune's interference, his opponent made a slight mistake again. However, it was precisely such a slight mistake that brought about death. He made another mistake, and Tianyan succeeded. This made many evil spirit tribe members feel that Tianyan was really too lucky. Why did he encounter such an idiot again? The other heavenly god elders began to speculate whether Tianyan had used some strange technique to make his opponent like this. Does this brat have some kind of hidden technique? Goukai began to speculate. However, Tianyan soon used violence to shatter their thoughts. In the next battle, he didn't use Heavenly God Misfortune's power. Instead, he directly attacked and pummeled his opponent. In the end, Tianyun won. After all, he had many heavenly venerate spirit treasures. How could he not smash his opponent into pieces? Moreover, his physique was stronger than his opponent's. If they really fought, Tianyun would definitely have the upper hand. This victory made many evil spirit tribe members look at each other in dismay. They had thought that their opponent was stupid this time. Who would have thought that Tianyun would win with his own strength? This made them look at him in a new light. He still has some strength, but he smashed a little too many heavenly venerate spirit treasures. Looks like he has killed quite a few heavenly venerates. Speaking of which, I've never seen him before. I don't know where he came from. Chapter 1646. Tianyun won 3 rounds in a row and immediately became the focus of many evil spirit races. This was the effect that Tianyun wanted. He was not afraid of being high profile. On the contrary, the more high profile he became, the better. Only then would he be able to attract the attention of the evil emperor, and even more so, attract the attention of Huan Mingyue. However, Huan Mingyue only glanced over indifferently and did not have much interest. However, thinking about it carefully, with such a huge difference in cultivation, Huan Mingyue was the true genius, and he was only here to add to the fun. Even if he got first place, he would at most be praised for his potential, but it was impossible for him to marry Huan Mingyue or something like that. Therefore, Tianyun's initial plan was to let the evil emperor think highly of him. It would be best if he could join the personal guards or something like that. Only then would he be able to get close to Huan Mingyue. At the same time, he could go deep into the enemy's ranks and find out more information. Although he had won 3 rounds in a row, he was not the most dazzling person in the entire arena. There were still many other people who were the most dazzling. There were a few evil spirit races who were extremely strong. From the very beginning, they were existences that could crush their opponents, and they did not even need to awaken. Tianyun could only be said to be a bright spot, but not the most dazzling one. If there were more than one competition, only a small number of people would pay attention to him, and not so many evil spirit races would pay attention to him. Thus, after the competition ended, the next round quickly continued. The rest of Heavenly God Gokai's guards were either dead or had failed, leaving only Tianyun behind. Not bad. You are prepared to fight your way into the top 20. Continue to work hard and fight your way into the top 5. Gokai started to get excited, and even forgot about his previous anger. Right now, he only wanted Tianyun to win this round and enter the top 5. Only then would he be able to obtain rewards and win glory for him. Sir, I will work harder. It's just that I don't have many resources on hand right now, such as awakening crystals. These are basically all gone. Tianyun looked at him and said, "You don't even have awakening crystals?" Without even thinking, Gokai stuffed a few over. Take all of these crystals, and only use them when necessary. If you use them casually, it will be difficult for you to participate in the next round. After awakening, the overdraft was very severe. Previously, even if the evil spirit race won, the situation would become extremely bad. Even if they could fight in the next battle, the chances of them losing were extremely high. I'll be careful. Tianyun took the things that Gokai gave him. In any case, it would be a waste if he didn't take these things. He still didn't know if the awakening crystal would have any effect on the evil spirit puppets. As the number of battles increased, Tianyun gradually made his way into the top 10. Soon it was time for the top 5 battles. The further he went, the stronger the opponents he faced would be. Now he was facing the extremely powerful evil spirit race. He was a late-stage upper heavenly venerable. His cultivation was strong, his bloodline was strong, and most importantly, his abilities were also strong. This battle would determine who would be in the top 5. It was an important battle. Awaken. The other party had awakened without hesitation. He hadn't awakened before, but now that he was facing Tianyun, he had awakened without hesitation. 11 arms appeared. Compared to the majority of the awakened upper-level heavenly venerables, this was an extra arm. This meant that his strength was about to step into the heavenly god level. An incomparably tyrannical aura was released from his body. A black snake coiled around his pitch-black body, looking extremely evil. You have the qualifications for me to awaken my strength to fight. You should awaken too. Otherwise, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Emperor Sua Chao stared coldly at Yi Tianyan. I don't need any awakening to deal with you. Yi Tianyan shook his head. Such an arrogant action made the evil spirit race below the stage shake their heads. They felt that Yi Tianyan was too arrogant. This was to determine the top 5, which meant that the opponents were all extremely strong. If he didn't awaken his own strength when his opponent was already very strong, then he would be too arrogant. Yi Tianyan's cultivation was already weaker than his opponent's. Now that he was playing such a trick, wasn't he courting death? Does this guy think that his opponent will be so stupid as to cause an accident? That's right. If something happens to Emperor Sua Chao, then all the other heavenly venerates will have problems as well. It's fine. We'll just watch as he gets beaten to a pulp. This is what happens to the weak, especially the stupid. They couldn't help but burst into laughter. There was no sympathy in their hearts, only endless mockery. Idiot, what are you doing? Hurry up and awaken. Your opponent is very powerful. If you don't awaken your strength, you'll lose. Gokai quickly transmitted his voice to Yi Tianyan, trying to get him to awaken his strength as well. In his eyes, he didn't need to get first place or top 3. Just making it into the top 5 would be enough. Furthermore, he felt that the limit for Yi Tianyan was the top 5. Top 3 was impossible. As such, he had to unleash his full strength. It was enough for him to make it into the top 5. Yi Tianyan turned a deaf ear to his voice transmission, still doing his own thing, completely ignoring him. Prepare to make him face the ground. Yi Tianyan instructed the heavenly misfortune god. No problem. The heavenly misfortune god snapped her fingers. This was a piece of cake for her. Looks like you're quite confident in your own strength. Heavenly Venerate Sua Chao's voice was cold. However, you'll pay for your stupidity very soon. Boom. Heavenly Venerate Sua Chao attacked ferociously. Just like the other Heavenly Venerates, he also unleashed all sorts of Heavenly Venerate spirit treasures. Just as he was about to attack, a burst of special energy swept over. All of a sudden, the Heavenly Venerate spirit treasures that were gathering power exploded right beside him. Boom. Following a loud explosion, Heavenly Venerate Sua Chao's power instantly became chaotic. However, he quickly stabilized his body and stamped his foot on the ground. Immediately afterward, his foot suddenly slipped, and he fell backward. The moment he fell, a black shadow had already flashed to his side, waved a hard fist, and smashed it on his head. Boom. Another loud explosion erupted, and Heavenly Venerate Sua Chao's head was smashed into the ground, turning into a pile of minced meat. Such a cowardly way of dying appeared before the eyes of the evil spirit tribe once again. First, he had lost control, causing his energy to dissipate and explode. Thankfully, his foundation was quite good, and he was able to immediately stabilize the impact of this power. However, his foot had slipped, and upon closer inspection, he had still stepped on the Heavenly Venerate spirit treasure that had been blasted away. The impact of this explosion made him unable to stabilize his body, allowing Yi Tianyan to succeed. An instant kill. It was as if everything was within his expectations. All the evil spirit tribe beings were dumbfounded. They had thought that Heavenly Venerate Sua Chao wouldn't be stupid, but who would have thought that he would still be stupid and die just like the other Heavenly Venerates? Chapter 1647. Alright. Gokai was startled at first, then he clapped his hands and cheered. No matter what move Yi Tianyan used to win, it was still considered his strength. He had thought that Yi Tianyan would lose, but who knew that he would actually win this round? This meant that he had entered the top 5. Regardless of whether he won or lost, it would not be a problem to enter the top 5. What the hell? There's a problem even like this. Did this Emperor Sua Chao eat something wrong? Or did he have a problem with his control over his power? Why did it suddenly explode? That's right, it's probably because he used too little of his awakening power that he didn't control it well. I'm really envious of that kid. He won another round like this. I thought it would be a dangerous match, but now he won it so easily. What a joke. They were envious, jealous, and hateful of Yi Tianyun. He easily entered the top 5. How could they not feel envious and jealous? If it were any other opponent, they would probably be crushed by Emperor Sua Chao. Facing the envious gazes of the evil spirit race, Yi Tianyun ignored them and directly walked down, returning to Gokai's side. Hurry up and admit defeat, understand? Gokai immediately said with a sound transmission. Hurry up and admit defeat? Yi Tianyun was startled, but he immediately understood what Gokai meant. Gokai was afraid that he would be killed, so he immediately asked him to admit defeat. If he died, even second place would be useless. If he died, what was the point of talking about ranking? That's right, if you continue, you will be in even more danger. If you can enter a higher ranking, of course I will be very happy, but for your safety, it's better to admit defeat quickly. Gokai advised. Even if I'm not first place, my current ranking is enough to receive a reward. Lord Gokai, I strongly disagree with this. If I want to do it, then do it to the best. I don't want to be at the bottom, Yi Tianyun retorted. But if you die, you'll have nothing. Gokai gritted his teeth. He really wanted to slap Yi Tianyun to death. No matter what he said, Yi Tianyun wouldn't listen. This was what gave him the biggest headache. If it were any other subordinate, even if it was a heavenly venerable, they would want to flatten him. Right now, Yi Tianyun was the key person who decided his reputation. How could he dare to act recklessly? Are you so sure that I will die? Yi Tianyun asked calmly. This is better to be safe than sorry. There were quite a few who were very strong, and some of them were even close to stepping into the heavenly god realm. For the sake of this challenge, they even suppressed their cultivation to the upper-level heavenly venerable level. If it weren't for the sake of participating in this competition, they would have broken through to the heavenly god realm long ago. With your cultivation base, do you think you can win against a heavenly god? Gokai was about to explode from anger. No matter what he said, he wouldn't listen to him. How could he not be angry? There's such a situation? Yi Tianyun raised his eyes to look at the remaining participants. Those were indeed very strong. Compared to most late-stage upper-level heavenly venerable powerhouses, they were a notch stronger. He thought that they were very strong to begin with. It turned out that in order to participate in this competition, they deliberately suppressed their cultivation base to this level. After this matter was over, they would probably all have broken through. This was too sinister. It was basically equivalent to facing a heavenly god. That's right. I'm doing this for your own good. It's also for my own good. Understand? Gokai felt very vexed. If he had signed a slave contract with Yi Tianyun before, so many things wouldn't have happened. Instead, it was him who needed help from Yi Tianyun. Naturally, he wouldn't say that he wanted to sign a slave contract here. Alright, I'll see to it, Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Yi Tianyun didn't care about Gokai's words. He would definitely do things according to his own plan. Veins popped on Gokai's forehead when he saw Yi Tianyun's attitude. However, he could only endure it. With so many people watching, he couldn't make a move even if he wanted to. No matter how talented his subordinates were, if they didn't listen to him, he wouldn't keep them around. Damn it. I hope they don't disappoint me. Gokai gritted his teeth. Soon, the results of the competition were out, and the remaining rankings were revealed one after another. Finally, it was Yi Tianyun's turn to compete again. He faced one of the powerful beings who wanted to break through to the heavenly god level. He stood in front of Yi Tianyun with an indifferent expression. I don't know what kind of strange technique you're using, but all your schemes and tricks are useless before me. Heavenly Venerate Zwelong clenched his fists, and dark power gathered in his palms. In the next instant, he took the initiative to attack Yi Tianyun. Heavenly Misfortune God, same as before. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with this Heavenly Venerate Zwelong. In any case, he just had to throw a bunch of power of misfortune at him. Heavenly Misfortune God immediately unleashed the power of misfortune. But it was repelled by Heavenly Venerate Zwelong. It was completely useless. It's useless? Heavenly Misfortune God was shocked. This Heavenly Venerate Zwelong's situation is very unusual. He seems to have a constitution that can resist the power of misfortune. Everyone's situation was different. Some people could resist certain types of misfortune, and Heavenly Venerate Zuolong was one of them. It's useless. Yi Tianyan was taken aback. He thought he would be able to deal with it easily like before, but it looked like things weren't going to be that easy. He then smiled. If it's useless, then I'll use my fist to deal with it. Immediately afterward, Yi Tianyan threw himself at Heavenly Venerate Zuolong. He wanted to use his powerful physique to take on Heavenly Venerate Zuolong. Boom. After the first clash, Yi Tianyan was sent flying, and a large part of his powerful physique caved in. In contrast, Heavenly Venerate Zuolong was completely unscathed. He had completely crushed Yi Tianyan. Is that all you've got? Then I'm really disappointed. Heavenly Venerate Zuolong looked at Yi Tianyan with disdain. He had thought that Yi Tianyan would be able to put up a fight against him, but it looked like Yi Tianyan wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves. The difference in strength is indeed too big. It's really difficult to make up for it with just this body. Yi Tianyan shook his head. If this continued, he would definitely lose. His opponent was so powerful. If he couldn't rely on the power of misfortune, it would be really difficult to make up for this gap. There were only two ways to make up for this gap. The first was to use the Evil Spirit's Pearl, and the second was to use the Awakening Crystal. If he used the Evil Spirit's Pearl now, he would expose his strength too quickly. Thus, he had to use the Awakening Crystal. Awaken! Yi Tianyan took out the Awakening Crystal and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, the bloodline power in his body began to be released crazily. Boom! A pair of wings sprouted from his back, and 10 thick arms grew out. His aura surged wildly. It seemed that even evil spirit puppets could be awakened. Chapter 1648. After Yi Tianyan had awakened, Celestial Master Zuolong hadn't. In his opinion, even if Yi Tianyan had awakened his power, it wouldn't pose too much pressure to him. In the end, you still awakened your bloodline? I thought you wouldn't awaken it, but with this little bit of power, the difference is still too big. Celestial Master Zuolong snorted coldly and attacked Yi Tianyan fiercely. Yi Tianyan was familiarizing himself with this feeling. He had to admit that after awakening, his combat power had increased a lot. He was originally at the early stage upper level Celestial Master level, but after the eruption, his overall combat power had reached the mid-stage level. It could be said that he had forcibly risen a level, and this increase was still very strong. Adding on other powers, his overall strength was close to the late-stage upper-level Celestial Master level. However, compared to his opponent, there was still a gap. Give me the fusion materials. Yi Tianyan began to crazily smash the evil spirit blood, evil spirit bones, and so on, in order to increase the cultivation of the evil spirit puppet. If he didn't increase his cultivation, then it would naturally be difficult for him to deal with Celestial Master Zuolong. He didn't want to lose here. Evil Spirit Puppet has successfully increased to the mid-stage upper-level Celestial Master level. After increasing a level, Celestial Master Zuolong attacked. He never waited for his opponent to take the initiative, but took the initiative himself. Boom! The two clashed again. After a violent tremor, both of them were sent flying. It was just that Yi Tianyan was in a more difficult situation, and Celestial Master Zuolong was in a better situation. However, it seemed that there wasn't much of a gap between the two. It was basically a draw. Even if Celestial Master Zuolong won later, he would have to fight many times and exhaust his own energy before he could win against Yi Tianyan. Such strong power. How did it increase so much? Celestial Master Zuolong was stunned. He was clearly weaker than him before. According to his calculations, even if he awakened his bloodline, there would still be a gap. Awakening wasn't invincible. There was a limit to how much it could increase. It couldn't increase endlessly. Thus, everything was within his expectations. Who would have thought that everything would be out of his expectations? The power that erupted was actually on par with his own. So strong. Yi Tianyan felt like his ghoul puppet's body was being torn apart. His opponent was too strong. An existence that was infinitely close to becoming a heavenly god. How could he not be strong? The previous opponents could be easily killed, but the difficulty of the current opponents was too high. It seemed that it would be quite difficult to kill them. Both felt that the other was very strong, especially Celestial Masters Wulong, who was the most shocked. If he had not awakened, he would not have been able to deal with Yi Tianyin. However, if it were to awaken, then his battle prowess would decrease in the next round. Most of the time, it wasn't that they didn't want to awaken, but that after awakening, their bodies would suffer serious damage, and their advantage in the next round would be small. At present, no one could completely recover after using the awakening crystal. It would be great if they could recover even half of it. However, if the opponent had not awakened it before, then the effect would be different after awakening it. Victory was basically assured, so they were reluctant to awaken their bloodlines. Now, Celestial Masters Wulong did not want to awaken his bloodline. If he had awakened his bloodline, he would have done so long ago. Now that they were locked in a stalemate, if this continued, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Is he going to awaken his bloodline? Celestial Masters Wulong stared angrily at Yi Tianyin. He had originally planned to awaken his bloodline in the next round. If he did not use it now, then he could only win this round with great difficulty. If it was very difficult to win, then he might as well unleash his strongest power and kill his opponent as fast as possible. That was the best way. He did not hesitate for too long. He immediately took out the awakening crystal, swallowed it, and unleashed his strongest power. Boom. Celestial Masters Wulong was already very strong, and after using the awakening crystal, he became even stronger. This Seagull puppet is finished. It even stimulated Celestial Masters Wulong's awakening. He won by using skills, but he won't be able to fight to the end. Isn't that necessary? Without strength, everything is empty talk. He was lucky to be able to fight his way into the top 5. In the end, luck is useless. He has to rely on his own strength. Everyone thought that Yi Tianyin would lose without a doubt. Previously, he had relied on a bit of luck. Now that Celestial Masters Wulong was so heaven-defying and his aura was extremely stable, how could he repeat the situation of his previous opponents? Hurry up and escape. When Goukai saw Celestial Masters Wulong unleash his full power, he had a premonition that something was wrong. If this continued, Yi Tianyin might die. Yi Tianyin did not hear the cries in his heart. Instead, he continued to stand firmly in place, watching Celestial Masters Wulong rush over with cold eyes. Now that things have come to this, I can only mobilize the power of the Evil Spirit's Pearl. He could not use misfortune to deal with Celestial Masters Wulong, nor could he rely on his current strength to resist. He could only choose to mobilize the Evil Spirit's Pearl. Immediately, he began to mobilize the power of the Evil Spirit's Pearl. With just a slight movement, the power of evil spirits in the Evil Spirit's Pearl rapidly filled his body. 1. He felt the Evil Spirit puppet's body shake violently. Then an extremely evil power was released from its body. In the next moment, the wings on its back suddenly multiplied to 4, and the 10 arms suddenly increased to 12. This was an effect that only a sky celestial could produce, but it had now appeared on a celestial master. Boom. The terrifying power of the Evil Spirit's Pearl pressed down on Celestial Masters Wulong, causing the left dragon's legs to weaken. He actually knelt in front of Yi Tianyin. Celestial Masters Wulong was shocked. In the face of this power, he had actually developed a mentality of submission. By the time he reacted and quickly got up from the ground, a black light had already filled his eyes. Die. An extremely fast and violent kick came over, bursting Celestial Masters Wulong's head. It was almost a one-hit kill. He had killed Celestial Masters Wulong in an instant. Yi Tianyin's enhanced power was very strong, but it was definitely not strong enough to kill Celestial Masters Wulong in an instant. The key was that when Celestial Masters Wulong felt the power of the Evil Spirit's Pearl, he had an urge to kneel down and worship it from the bottom of his heart, allowing Yi Tianyin's sneak attack to succeed. After the instant kill, the entire place was eerily silent. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding Sky Celestial Elders, including the Evil Emperor, all stood up in shock. They had actually felt the power of the evil spirits from Yi Tianyin, which made them feel very incredulous. Chapter 1649. The Aura of the Evil Spirits. I sense the aura of the evil spirits from him? How is this possible? He has the aura of the evil spirits. Is he a descendant of the evil spirits? This is possible. This is the only possibility. Many elders were shocked. They felt that Tianyan was a descendant of the evil spirits. Otherwise he wouldn't have the aura of the evil spirits. As for the evil spirit's pearl, they didn't think about it. The main thing was that they didn't sense it, so they didn't think too much about it. Although the aura of the evil spirit puppet was exactly the same as that of the evil spirit tribe, it was still a puppet. For example, the evil spirit tribe couldn't cut off their essence blood or essence energy. Cutting it off was equivalent to cutting off their own blood. How could they survive then? The evil spirit puppet was different. It could cut off whatever it wanted, stop bleeding if it didn't want to, or stop beating if it didn't want to. Therefore it could control many things. The evil spirit's pearl could completely suppress it, and not let it release any aura. Thus it could easily suppress the effect. No one would feel the aura of the evil spirit's pearl inside. If not for Tianyan releasing some aura, the Fecta Domain Lord wouldn't have been able to sense the evil spirit's pearl's aura. Therefore the evil spirit puppet was definitely the best body to hide the evil spirit's pearl. Most importantly, it could be used perfectly. There were almost no side effects. When he released his power, he felt as if the evil spirit puppet had been activated to its strongest effect. Its power was greatly increased. It didn't consume any essence blood. The only thing it consumed was the energy in its body. This was the difference between the user. Normal cultivators would extract essence blood, but the evil spirit puppet didn't have this problem. It could also use its power to the fullest. Looking at their shocked expressions, Tianyan knew that it would have this effect. To them, the evil spirits were a god, a supreme god. They absolutely worshipped him. Of course, he didn't dare to act recklessly before he was forced to. God knew what they were thinking. If Evil Emperor was in control of everything and did not want this to happen, or if Evil Emperor had seen through him, then Tianyan believed that it was hard to see through him. But it didn't mean that it was impossible to see through him. No one could guarantee that. Now, it seemed that there was no problem. See, evil spirit, where are you from? The evil emperor looked at him with a serious expression. Your Majesty, I don't know. I was born single, and I don't know where I came from. Tianyan answered simply and crudely. Then can you release that power again? Evil emperor asked. Sure. Tianyan released the power of the evil spirits again, but only slightly. He didn't dare to release too much at once. Not only would it be easy to expose himself, but a lot of his energy would also be drained. After releasing it once more, the elders exchanged glances with one another, and could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. This is really the power of evil spirits. He's probably the descendant of evil spirits. That's right, this familiar energy is undoubtedly the descendant of evil spirits. That's great, Lord Evil Spirit still has descendants. They were all surprised. They didn't expect there to be a descendant of evil spirits. They had all witnessed the strength of evil spirits. And if there were descendants here, they would undoubtedly be able to greatly increase their strength. The descendant of evil spirits. Gokai was dumbfounded, looking at the scene in front of him, dumbfounded. Suddenly, he remembered how he treated Tianyan, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. If Tianyan blamed him, he would be finished. Even though his cultivation was not weak, bloodline and status were the most important thing here. There was no doubt that the evil spirit's status was higher than the evil emperor's. As for the descendant of evil spirits, no matter what, they were on the same level as the empress. In this kind of situation, if they pursued the matter, wouldn't he be dead meat? This really is the power of evil spirits. The evil emperor quickly flew over, grabbed Tianyan's arm, and then quickly checked Tianyan's body. After circling around, he said doubtfully, "Strange, I can't find any problems with the bloodline." Tianyan could be said to be holding his breath. A super strong upper celestial god had grabbed him. If they really fought, he would not be able to break free. I'm not too sure about that. Tianyan could only deny it. The evil emperor slowly withdrew his hand, shook his head, and said, "It seems that the power of evil spirits can only be released in battle. Normally, It can't be detected, but only the bloodline of evil spirits can have this kind of deterrence. That's right, if he really is the descendant of Lord Evil Spirits, then we have to nurture him well. Otherwise, when Lord Evil Spirits unseals and finds out that his descendant is not being nurtured, he will definitely be furious. Yes, I didn't expect to see the descendant of Lord Evil Spirits in this competition. This is really incredible. This is really a double blessing. Not only did we get a princess, but we also met the descendant of Lord Evil Spirits. Yeah, it's really a double blessing. Congratulations. For a moment, all the elders showed happy expressions. To be able to encounter such a thing, how could they not be happy? Fortunately, Itianyan was fine, otherwise they would be dead. Indeed, it is a double blessing. The evil emperor looked at Itianyan, nodded and said, "From now on you will stay here, you don't need to do anything else." Then he turned to look at Gokai and asked, "Does Gokai have any objections?" No objections at all. Gokai quickly waved his hand, not daring to say anything. If he said no, he would probably be cut into pieces. Yes, it's all thanks to you, otherwise, who knows when we would be able to find the descendant of Lord Evil Spirits. The evil emperor smiled. Not at all, not at all. It's all because of your luck, Lord Evil Spirits. Gokai's back was already drenched in cold sweat, but he did not forget to look at Itianyan, worried that Itianyan would say something bad about him. However, Itianyan's expression was calm, and he did not have any intention of doing so. "Lord Evil Emperor, do you still want to compete with me?" Itianyan asked as he looked at the Evil Spirit Race's members around him. He didn't know if the Evil Spirit Race's members were going to continue. The competition still needs to continue, but you don't need to compete anymore. Come sit with me and watch. The Evil Emperor smiled and said, "By the way, don't call me Lord Evil Emperor, just call me Uncle Evil Emperor." "Yes, Uncle Evil Emperor." Itianyan was speechless. This change in treatment was really big, from the initial competitors to the relatives of the emperor. Chapter 1650. Itianyan busied himself for a long time, and all he did was release a hint of the evil spirit's aura, and all of them immediately knelt before him with reverence. This was a far cry from what they had been receiving in the past. All of the evil spirit tribe living beings who were gossiping about him also obediently shut their mouths, and didn't dare to say anything. In the blink of an eye, she had become a descendant of an evil god. This made her equal to the evil emperor, or rather slightly lower. She was basically on the same level as the queen. Who would dare to say anything under these circumstances? At the very least, none of them dared to do so anymore. Even Gokai didn't dare to say anything. He could only pray that Itianyan wouldn't pursue this matter, and that would already be extremely fortunate. However, what was even more tragic for Itianyan was that he had worked so hard for nothing. He had even tried to sneak in and establish a good relationship with Huan Mingyue. Now he didn't even need to establish a good relationship with Huan Mingyue. He had become one of them, and he even had to refer to the evil empress as uncle. Of course, the main reason was that he didn't dare to take this risk. Unless he had no other choice, he really didn't dare to release the power of the evil spirits in case he was detected. Now it looked like he had been overthinking things. He should have released it from the very beginning, but he had always been cautious and didn't want to expose himself as much as possible. Looks like I've worked so hard for nothing. All I have to do is release the power of the evil spirits a little, and everything will be much easier. Itianyan shrugged in a resigned manner within the evil spirit puppet's body. Even the heavenly doom god was very surprised by this turn of events. He really couldn't turn things around. This evil spirit puppet of yours is truly powerful. Even with the evil emperor's probing, it was still unable to detect it. The heavenly doom god was completely flabbergasted. If possible, I really would like to pay a higher price to cultivate this mystic technique. I can't do that. This is a mystic technique, so even if the price you're offering is very tempting, I can only refuse. Some things can't be taught just because I want to. Itianyan shrugged. The heavenly misfortune god nodded in agreement. However, What she thought was that Yi Tianyan was limited by the fact that he could only impart it to her, so he couldn't impart it to others unless Yi Tianyan's master approved it. Little did they know that the reason why Yi Tianyan couldn't teach it to others was because it wasn't a secret technique. It was just a simple assembly. However, he was the only one who could execute this assembly. No one else could. When others killed their opponents, how could these materials drop? No matter what, we have officially snuck in. When the time comes, we will find time to capture this princess. A cold light flashed through the heavenly misfortune god's eyes. As long as he could control the dark illusion moon, he would at least be able to alleviate the situation. That's for sure. Yi Tianyan nodded. Then he sat down next to the evil emperor, beside the empress and the others. Originally, as a participant, or more accurately as a performer, they had to put on a show in front of their superiors. Now that he had become a superior, he watched as the evil spirit race continued to fight and kill each other. No matter who won first place, it had nothing to do with him. Even the first place had to kneel before him to speak. This was the position of a superior. This sudden turn of events struck all of the evil spirit race powerful beings who had initially viewed Yi Tianyan as their opponent in disbelief. They had been opponents just a moment ago, but they had become subordinates in the next instant. There was an insurmountable gap between them. As soon as he sat down, Huan Mingyue's gaze locked onto him, and their eyes met. Yi Tianyan met her gaze, and a burst of power soon surged from her eyes, drilling into his eyes and striking straight into the depths of his heart. However, Yi Tianyan quickly severed this connection so that this power couldn't continue to seep into his heart. Mind-reading technique. Yi Tianyan's heart jolted. He didn't think that such a sinister technique would exist. Dark Illusion Moon's technique was similar to the mind-reading technique. As long as one stared closely at him, they would be able to read the secrets in his heart through their eyes. The longer he stared, the more secrets he could read. It was much more powerful than the soul search. He never thought that Dark Illusion Moon would actually have a secret technique similar to mind-reading technique. This was a divine skill that even Yi Tianyan was unable to draw. He had always wanted to draw a similar divine skill, but he had never drawn one, or rather, there was none at all. Of course, this was also a very rude display. If he was sensed, he would be extremely angry. However, he was using Dark Illusion Moon, so even if he had a temper, he would have to suppress it. Lady Empress, what do you mean by this? Yi Tianyan asked calmly. There's no other meaning. I just feel that you're different. Dark Illusion Moon looked at him indifferently and said, Are you willing to let me look at you for a while longer? No problem, feel free to look. Yi Tianyan continued to look straight into her eyes. Dark Illusion Moon's beautiful eyes flashed, and then another wave of power seeped in. This time, Yi Tianyan had cut off the connection and allowed Dark Illusion Moon to look. What Dark Illusion Moon really saw was just an empty shell. Without the support of Yi Tianyan's soul, she naturally couldn't see his memories. After moving around for a while, Dark Illusion Moon said in shock, I can't see anything. How did you do this? She looked around and realized that she couldn't see any memories. It was like she had entered an empty room with nothing. Do you want to know? When this is over, come find me. Yi Tianyan smiled and buried a lead. Dark Illusion Moon stared at him. After a while, she turned her head and said, Okay, when this is over, I will come find you. In the evil spirit puppet space, Yi Tianyan was shocked. He hadn't thought it would be so simple. Is it that easy to lure her here? Yi Tianyan didn't expect it to be so easy. He just casually said yes. Isn't this great? Heavenly God Misfortune was elated. When she comes to your room, I will capture her. When that happens, we will immediately escape from here and achieve our goal. Everything was going so smoothly. The only downside was that this puppet was going to be crippled. With so many spies around, no matter where Dark Illusion Moon went, people would know where she was. After entering Yi Tianyan's room, she didn't come out again, so there was definitely something wrong. As such, after escaping, this evil spirit puppet would be crippled. However, capturing Dark Illusion Moon, the princess of the evil spirit tribe, who also had the bloodline of the Heaven Creator tribe, was quite worth it. I hope everything is as easy as we think. Tianyan had a feeling that things weren't as simple as they seemed. This dark illusion moon wasn't as simple as she looked. Then, they turned their attention back to the competition. The rest of the competition was basically a battle to the death. However, the result had nothing to do with him anymore. Chapter 1651. The competition is over soon. Tianyan doesn't know who won first place. He doesn't care about it anymore. He wasn't even paying attention to this. Instead, he was looking around to see who was hostile toward him. A descendant of the evil spirits had suddenly appeared, so there would definitely be evil spirit tribe members who would be displeased. As such, he wanted to see who was the one who was displeased with him. After looking around, he discovered that there were many people who were displeased with him, especially those who were his opponents before. They all felt that Tianyan was like a chicken feather turned into a phoenix, suddenly flying up to the sky. This kind of treatment made them feel very uncomfortable. Tianyan doesn't care about this kind of thing. It's normal for him to have this kind of idea. What he really cared about was the thoughts of the elders. Setting aside Gokai, even though his status had been elevated, they were still very displeased with him. How could heavenly god Gokai have a good impression of him? Especially when he was threatening his own identity. After looking around carefully, he discovered that there was almost no one who truly had a favorable impression of him. In other words, the only one who had a favorable impression of him was Huan Mingyue. This was very strange. Huan Mingyue had a favorable impression of him? The one who was the most hostile toward him was none other than the evil emperor. The evil emperor, who had made Tianyan refer to him as Uncle Evil Emperor, was the one who was the most hostile toward him. He appeared to be very benevolent and had an extremely good attitude toward him, but he was also extremely hostile toward him. He was the one who was the most hostile toward him. Even when compared to Gokai, he didn't feel as much hostility toward him. However, his daughter, Huan Mingyue, had a favorable impression of him. This was extremely strange. They were polar opposites. How strange. Tianyan's brows furrowed. He couldn't read minds, so he didn't know what the evil emperor was thinking. What's strange? Heavenly God Doom asked upon seeing Tianyan's brows furrowed. The evil emperor is extremely hostile toward me. Tianyan looked at Heavenly God Doom. The one who is the most hostile toward me is the evil emperor. Looks like he thinks that my return has threatened his position? Very likely. The evil spirit tribe is very concerned about their status, and status determines everything. You've suddenly returned, so how can he not be hostile toward you? Heavenly Doom God said in a grim voice. Perhaps he'll send someone to kill you someday. So he's not afraid of the evil spirits descending. Tianyan was a little conflicted at the thought of the evil spirits. Of course I am, but who knows when the seal on the evil god will be lifted? The heavenly misfortune god chuckled. Besides, how would the evil god know if I killed you in secret? But if the evil spirits descend, then his status will drop. Tianyan didn't really understand these things. Because the evil spirits are a paramount being. If they descend, they will at most become their leader, but you have a chance to replace his position. Heavenly God Doom was very familiar with this topic. As expected of the daughter of the Fecta region lord. That's true. Looks like you really know a lot, Heavenly God Doom. Tianyan looked at her with a smile. I thought you only knew how to research stuff like the Fecta region lord. Heavenly God Doom rolled her eyes. As the daughter of the Fecta region lord, I have to assist him in his management. How could I only know how to research stuff like that? Tianyan recalled the Fecta region lord's crazed expression, and realized that this was indeed the case. Speaking of which, I think your father's crazy research into the evil spirit's bead also has something to do with you. Tianyan looked at Heavenly God Doom with a smile. He's probably going to kill Gokai after he finishes his research. Father. Heavenly God Doom nodded with a scorching light in his eyes. Then let's go back as soon as this is over. We can't let them worry. If he really does come, then things will be even more troublesome. But my father is very calm, very terrifyingly calm. Indeed. I can't even tell that he's grieving over the loss of his daughter. Your sister is the same. She doesn't show any grief, but that's all on the surface. Tianyan shook his head. His entire family was terrifyingly calm. They had to do this for the sake of the bigger picture. How could they not be sad that they couldn't avenge their sister? However, they had no choice but to suppress this rage and continue. If they were to expose themselves, it would have a severe impact on the Fector realm, so they could only calm down. Yi Tianyan was very impressed by their calmness. If he were in their shoes, he would most likely have come alone. They were looking at the bigger picture, and Yi Tianyan would also look at the bigger picture. However, he wouldn't draw the help of the entire divine realm. Instead, he would come alone and slowly exhaust them to death. Of course, it's a good thing you didn't die. I wonder what kind of expressions they'll have when you get back. Yi Tianyan smiled. The situation outside was beginning to change. The competition was over, so the coronation ceremony was about to reach its most critical conclusion. This time, she was not only facing the elders in front of her, but also all of the evil spirit tribe in this area. The evil emperor waved a hand, and the scene in this area was projected outside. At the same time, a tall platform was constructed in front of them. The evil emperor slowly walked up with the empress, and their auras continued to proliferate outward. Huan Mingyue put on a lavish dress and followed the evil emperor onto the platform to carry out this grand coronation ceremony. After the evil emperor placed a luxurious crown on her head, the whole coronation ceremony ended. I will lead the evil spirit tribe toward an even more glorious future. I am the daughter of the Divine Lord. Huan Mingyue's entire appearance changed in an instant. She held the scepter in her hand and pressed it on the ground, causing a berserk energy to spread out in all directions. It actually covered the entire palace and even spread out. The entire world seemed to have turned a few degrees colder, and it quickly dropped. With just her own strength, she was able to cause the world to change color, causing all of the evil spirit tribe to feel extremely shocked. Was this the power of the Empress? When Yi Tianyan, who was below the stage, felt this impact, he felt that it was incomparably powerful. It didn't feel like the power of a middle heavenly god, but the power of an upper heavenly god. This was an effect that exploded out in an instant, and when it spread out, it wasn't as terrifying as before. It quickly started to weaken and wouldn't cause any harm to them. Just what kind of strange energy is this Empress's body? Yi Tianyan rubbed his chin, guessing the source of this energy. The power in Huan Mingyue's body allowed her to possess even more power. However, this energy didn't seem to match her. Chapter 1652. The domineering and powerful coronation ceremony ended just like that. When the announcement was made, many of the evil spirit race outside were stunned. They never thought that a royal daughter would appear. For a time, many of the evil spirit race discussed animatedly, especially Huan Mingyue's appearance, which was the focus of their discussion. This appearance did not look like that of the evil spirit race at all. Only a small part of it looked like the evil spirit race, such as that aura. At least in terms of appearance, she did not look like the evil spirit race at all. This made them feel very strange. If that was the case, then how could she become their royal daughter? Here, I announce that Huan Mingyue has become the evil spirit divine country's royal daughter. The evil emperor did not explain too much, and instead announced this matter in front of the people. They did not need to know why they had made this choice. All they needed to know was that Huan Mingyue was their royal daughter. That was enough. Explaining this kind of thing to the elders was enough. As for the other citizens, they only needed to announce it. The group of evil spirit races looked at each other, but in the end they still cheered. Even though they did not understand, they still supported the evil emperor's announcement. After the announcement, the banquet also came to an end. Yi Tianyan was quickly arranged to rest on this floor. Only the highest level existences could live on this floor. See, evil spirit, this will be your residence from now on. Are you satisfied? The evil emperor came to the area where Yi Tianyan lived. This area was simply a mansion, the decorations were extremely luxurious, and the area was even wider. Many beautiful evil spirit race mates could be lined up in 2 rows, standing at the side respectfully. Evil emperor uncle, I just came up, I'm not used to it. Yi Tianyan pretended to not be used to it, and looked even more restrained. This is what you deserve. If you're not used to it, You can live here from now on. You can use the resources here as you please and quickly raise your cultivation." The evil emperor laughed. "But there is one thing I need to make clear to you first. You are now a descendant of Lord Evil Spirits. This is a bit of a deterrent, but you have to do something. I've looked into your situation, and it's basically a blank slate. There's not much to be found." The evil emperor stared at him and said, "That's why you must perform meritorious deeds. Only then will you be able to stand firm here. Only then will you be able to enjoy everything. Only then will you be able to stand above others. I have a mission on hand recently. If you complete it well, you will be able to secure this position and save Lord Evil Spirits at the same time." "What mission?" Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with eagerness. Actually, he already knew what the mission was. Find out the location of the Fecta Divine Realm and retrieve the Evil Spirit's orb at the same time. If you succeed, you will have made a great contribution. Evil Emperor said with smile. At that time, you will be able to stabilize your position and let everyone know your strength. No problem, then I'll accept this mission. Yi Tianyun knew that he would be given a quest related to the Evil Spirit's orb, but he had to admit that this quest was very difficult. The Evil Emperor knew the whereabouts of the other Evil Spirit's orbs, but he didn't send him there. Instead, he was sent to investigate the Fecta Divine Realm. That was even stranger. Of course, the Fecta Divine Realm isn't easy to find, but I have some news recently. You can take it and investigate it. This is all I can help you with. Evil Emperor patted him on the shoulder and handed him an astrolabe. Yi Tianyun took the astrolabe and checked the location on it. His expression was filled with joy. Uncle Evil Emperor, I won't let you down. He cursed in his heart. How was this the location of the Fecta Divine Realm? It was completely unrelated. It looked like a random area. All right, I'll leave the rest to you. Evil Emperor patted him on the shoulder with an expression of anticipation. After Evil Emperor walked out, his smile quickly disappeared and was replaced with a cold expression. When he goes to that place to complete his mission, capture him and lock him up in that area. Understood? Understood. The two heavenly gods beside him nodded, indicating that they understood the mission. As the Evil Emperor's absolute slave, they had to do everything they could. The heretical god force, for it to suddenly appear, I fear it will pose a threat to my status. Seeing as that's the case, I'll take control of it and extract your bloodline bit by bit before seizing the power of the evil spirits. Evil Emperor wore a ferocious expression as a crimson light flashed through his eyes. In his eyes, Yi Tianyun was here to deliver his bloodline. Even though he couldn't find anything, that didn't stop him from trying. After Evil Emperor left, Yi Tianyun's smile also quickly disappeared, leaving behind an expressionless face. This Evil Emperor really is up to no good. Looks like I'll definitely be surrounded and attacked if I go there. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Even though he had already guessed that this would happen, it was still very cruel of him to make a move so quickly. That's right. What will you do then? Will you go or not? Heavenly God Misfortune asked with a smile. Of course I'll go. I want to see what kind of powerful beings they'll send. Yi Tianyun was quite expectant. If they were all lesser heavenly gods, then he would be able to kill them all and earn a massive sum of money. All right, I'll take care of them with you when the time comes. Heavenly God Misfortune swung his little fists through the air. I won't hold back against these guys. Just as they were discussing something, a beautiful figure drifted in from outside. It was Huan Mingyue. Her father had just left, and she had followed him in. She had even walked in openly. I'm here. Huan Mingyue's expression was indifferent. She really did come as she had promised. Yi Tianyun and the others all faltered upon hearing this. They didn't think that Huan Mingyue would arrive so quickly. They had thought that she would only arrive after a while. One had to realize that the coronation ceremony had just concluded in the morning, so it was a bit too soon for her to arrive in the afternoon. Most importantly, they had thought that they would be able to set up some formations, but it was too late now. Do you think you'll be able to control her? Yes, I do, but it's going to be quite difficult. However, if we miss this opportunity, we probably won't be able to find a better one. That's true. Let's get ready. Tianyan and the others looked at one another and immediately prepared to attack. Now that things had come to this, he could only brace himself and do it. Who knew when she would come again after leaving this time? Even if he invited her, she probably wouldn't come again. Your Highness, you're here. Tianyan made his way toward her with a smile. Please come in. This is not a good place to stay. Huan Mingyue nodded, not suspecting anything, and followed them in. Chapter 1653. After they entered, Huan Mingyue didn't put up any defenses, as if she had never thought that Tianyan would launch a sneak attack on her. As the princess, her status was high and mighty, and Tianyan's cultivation base was so much lower than hers, so there was naturally no way she would think that Tianyan would launch a sneak attack on her. In the instant that Huan Mingyue entered the room, Heavenly Misfortune God and Tianyan immediately rushed out of the ghoul puppet's body. Heavenly Misfortune God even tossed out a rope. This was no ordinary rope. This was a Heavenly God spirit treasure that she had specially made. As the daughter of the Fecta region lord, she definitely had a lot of resources. So it wasn't surprising that she could materialize a Heavenly God spirit treasure. However, her Heavenly God spirit treasure was a rather special rope-type treasure that could be controlled. In an instant he turned into countless ropes, wrapping the area in circles. He did not even try to negotiate with Huan Mingyue. In the blink of an eye, these ropes had bound her several times. Everything was going so smoothly. It could be said that Huan Mingyue was bound almost without any obstruction. Good, she's been bound. As long as she's caught by my God-binding rope, she won't be able to break free in a short period of time. Heavenly Misfortune God's eyes lit up. It was naturally a good thing that things were going so smoothly. When they continued to strengthen the seal, Huan Mingyue didn't struggle in the slightest. She still maintained her calm expression, and allowed them to do as they pleased. They were all stunned to see that Huan Mingyue wasn't struggling. They had thought that she would struggle a little, but to their surprise, she didn't struggle at all and allowed them to seal her as they pleased. They were only stunned for a moment, but Heavenly Misfortune God didn't slow down in the slightest. She quickly put seals on the God-binding rope and threw out one jade stone after another, which she nailed onto the God-binding rope to strengthen the binding effect. Wait! Tianyan signaled for Heavenly Misfortune God to stop. The Heavenly Misfortune God immediately stopped and looked at him with a perplexed expression. What is it? She's not struggling. Tianyan frowned. He did not know why Huan Mingyue did not struggle. If she did not react in time, then she would not have said anything. But now she did not struggle at all. It was very strange. She's not struggling. Heavenly God Doom had also discovered the problem, and he turned to look at Huan Mingyue to find that she was not panicking in the slightest. At that moment, Huan Mingyue slowly said, "You don't have to continue sealing me. I won't run away. I came here this time because I want to run away with you." What? The two of them looked at each other. This was very strange. The words that came out of his mouth made them very confused. He actually said that he wanted to escape with them. It would be normal for him to scold someone. Now he said that he would escape with them. This was extremely strange and exceeded their expectations. You're saying that you want to escape with us? Aren't you the princess here? Tianyan arrived in front of Huan Mingyue and sized her up, wondering if she had gone crazy. You really are not from the evil spirit race. Looks like what I saw in that instant was not an illusion, Huan Mingyue said indifferently. She was very calm, and it could be said that nothing could stir up any ripples in her heart. She always maintained this expression no matter what. Looks like you still managed to read a trace of my memory in that instant. Tianyan had cut it off very quickly, but it was still a little too late. A trace of her memory had been read. However, it was not much, just a trace. For example, a certain image or a certain scene, such as the scene in the evil spirit puppet dimension. It was basically the most superficial memory, which was the memory that had just been obtained, and not very deep memories. For example, it was impossible to read things like the crazy mode system. Unless she kept staring at it, it was impossible to see it. I only saw an image for a moment, and I even wondered if I was seeing things. It looks like I wasn't. Huan Mingyue looked at the two of them and said, Neither of you are from the evil spirit race. Even though you have the aura of the evil spirit race and have concealed it perfectly, I was still able to see through it. Heavenly God Misfortune did not refute this. In the face of these powerful beings, it was not difficult for them to be seen through with a single glance. No matter what the situation is now, you can take me and escape as soon as possible. Of course, I can't escape too far, so it's best if you give me a stronger seal to completely stabilize me. Huan Mingyue's words became more and more bizarre, and no one knew what she was saying. What do you mean? Yi Tianyan frowned. Aren't you the princess? You want to escape? Indeed, I am the princess, but I don't want to be the princess, and I don't want to be a member of the evil spirit race. How disgusting. Huan Mingyue spat coldly. If I could, I would really want to get rid of all of my bloodline. I don't want to leave any evil spirit race bloodline behind. I only want to keep my mother's bloodline. Her mother's bloodline was undoubtedly the bloodline of the Heaven Creator race. Who would have thought that she would say something like this? It was clear that she was extremely disgusted with the evil spirit race. As such, there was a huge contradiction. As a princess, how could she be so disgusted with the evil spirit race? You hate the evil spirit race so much? No matter what, the evil emperor is still your father. I don't have a father like that. How disgusting. He has insulted countless Heaven Creator race females, and my mother is one of them. If their bloodline is too thin or has no value, he will kill them. Huan Mingyue was disgusted. Do you think someone like him is worthy of being my father? If it weren't for the fact that my bloodline is quite powerful and that I crawled out from a pile of corpses, I probably wouldn't be alive now. Then why aren't you escaping? Yi Tianyan immediately felt like he had asked a bunch of stupid questions. If she could escape, she would have done so a long time ago. Why would she use them to escape? Escape? I can't escape. There are too many spies, and he forced me to sign an absolute slave contract. No matter where I escape, he will be able to sense me. As long as I am within his sensing range, he can order me. Do you think I can escape? Huan Mingyue said coldly. They sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too ruthless. How was she a daughter? She was a slave. No wonder she had been expressionless. How could she be happy about these things? The most tragic thing was that her heart was dead. Under complete despair, there was no joy to speak of. Everything had nothing to do with her. Even death was a luxury. Chapter 1654. Get rid of this absolute slave contract. Absolute slave contracts were much more vicious than normal slave contracts, and the price one had to pay was also quite high. The price he was referring to was naturally not Huan Mingyue, but the evil emperor. For example, a lot of materials had to be paid, and it was already quite difficult to set up. As such, many powerful beings wouldn't establish an absolute slave contract like this. Compared to normal slave contracts, the biggest difference between the two was the ability to sense one's location. Not only could the absolute slave contract allow one to sense one's location from extremely far away, but it could also be said that it could sense one's general location no matter where one went. That way, one would be able to track one's location directly. Aside from that, there was absolute obedience. As long as one was within a certain range, one would be able to control one's actions with their divine sense. Normal slave contracts couldn't do this. As long as one was far away, one's senses would disappear, and it would be very difficult to find one's location. However, the mark would always be there, so one wouldn't be able to escape even if they encountered one day. Furthermore, normal slave contracts could only be ordered verbally, unlike absolute slave contracts, which could be controlled with one's divine sense. It could be said that this was quite a freak and possessed absolute control. Yi Tianyan didn't know how large the range of control was, but one thing was for sure. It was extremely vast. At the very least, he would be able to control one's location from several divine realms away with just a single divine sense. It's going to be too difficult to escape. Heavenly God Doom shook his head. As long as we leave his range, the evil emperor will be able to sense us immediately. It looks like we're in trouble this time. Heavenly God Doom was feeling quite troubled. It could be said that they had failed. As soon as she heard about this absolute slave contract, she knew that she wouldn't be able to escape. As soon as they left a certain area, the evil emperor would be able to sense them and chase after them. Who could escape from him? Furthermore, he could control her to escape at will within this area. There was no need to worry about that. All he had to do was seal Huan Mingyue. That way, as long as she couldn't struggle, she wouldn't be able to escape. However, the evil emperor was still the key. This was his territory, so it would be extremely difficult to escape. How do you know if you don't try? Huan Mingyue looked at him. Didn't you come here to capture me? This is your chance. Not only do I know a lot of information about the evil spirit tribe, but I also know a lot of secrets. You'll know everything if you take me away from here. But if we take you with us, we'll definitely die. Heavenly God Misfortune didn't think that he would encounter a situation like this. Who would have thought that Huan Mingyue would have an absolute slave vow? Her own daughter was actually made to swear an absolute slave oath. It seemed that this princess was not as glorious as she appeared on the surface. She was completely a slave puppet. Huan Mingyue stared at them. After a while he shook his head and said, "All right then. If that's the case, you can leave. I'll pretend that you never appeared. As for what other plans you have, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise you will be exposed soon." You want to expose me? Heavenly God Misfortune's brows furrowed. Didn't you say you didn't want to side with the evil spirit race? You want to expose me now? They could all tell that Huan Mingyue was telling the truth and not lying. Some emotions could not be faked just because one wanted to. Moreover, if he really wanted them to be caught, why did he have to go through so much trouble? He would have sent people to catch them long ago. It's not that I want to expose you. It's just that every once in a while, that bastard will come and search through my memories and all of my thoughts. I really want to erase my memories, but unfortunately, he's already given me an absolute order, so I can't do that, Huan Mingyue said in a calm voice. Freak. Heavenly God Misfortune cursed. What else could this be other than a freak? Searching through Huan Mingyue's memories meant that the evil emperor knew all of her thoughts. This meant that she had no privacy at all. It was disgusting to the extreme. So doesn't that mean he knows everything, including your desire to destroy the evil spirit race? Etienne's brows furrowed. That's right. He's always known about my thoughts, as well as my desire to destroy the evil spirit race. However, I've already sworn an absolute slave vow, and I won't be able to escape from him, so what's the point of all of this? Huan Mingyue's eyes were filled with resentment. If she could, she really wanted to slice the evil emperor into pieces. She then turned to Etienne and the others. So you should hurry up and run. As for your puppet, it's probably going to be crippled as well. You won't be able to sneak in here anymore. They couldn't save her, and her puppet was crippled as well. This was a huge loss. Etienne was silent for a moment before asking, "Are there any powerful beings from the heaven creation race imprisoned here?" Compared to that, he was more interested in the situation of the heaven creation race. Such a powerful race had already been captured, so if he could save them, it would be a completely different story. There are still some who are imprisoned here, but even I can't enter that area. As for you guys, your cultivation bases are still too low, so you'll probably be captured before you even reach the entrance. Huan Mingyue shook her head. You should say that only that bastard can enter that area. Everyone else will be killed without exception. As such, it would be much more difficult to sneak in, and it could even be said that it was impossible to enter. Let's give up. Heavenly God Misfortune suggested. They could only give up now. As for killing Huan Mingyue, that was even more impossible. If they killed her, neither of them would be able to escape. Everyone had seen her walk in, so if she died here, how could they escape responsibility? Huan Mingyue's eyes were filled with disappointment. She had thought that there would be hope, but it looked like there was no hope at all. There was only despair in her life. If you escape, this absolute slave contract will still be tied to you. What's the difference between escaping and not escaping? Etienne spoke in a grave voice. No, as long as I have some time, I will be able to suppress this contract and slowly erase it. However, I need time, so if I can escape, I will find a place to escape myself. I won't implicate you guys. The prerequisite is that you can escape without him knowing, and I will tell you the corresponding secrets, Huan Mingyue said. What if I can't? Are you not willing to tell us these secrets? Yi Tianyan asked. I will tell you guys, but you have to do something for me, Huan Mingyue said. Yi Tianyan narrowed his eyes at her. After a moment, a smile appeared on his face. All right, I'll take you out. Chapter 1655. All right then. What is the mission I want you to do? You said you want to take me out. Do you have a way to hide from that beast's senses? Huan Mingyue had thought that Yi Tianyan would accept the mission. She had only come here to ask them to do something for her. As for escaping, she really didn't have any extravagant hopes. You have a way? The heavenly god Misfortune couldn't think of a way no matter how hard she thought about it. She then turned to the evil spirit puppet and pointed at it. Could it be this? This thing can hide from senses? No, that won't work. The absolute slave contract can't hide from senses. I'll be able to sense it immediately if I go out. Yi Tianyan shook his head. Then what is it? Huan Mingyue was confused. You'll know when the time comes. Yi Tianyan smiled. But for now, wait here for a while. We have something to do first. We'll take you away when we come back. What is it? If it's an internal matter of the evil spirit race, even though I'm being controlled, I still have the right to speak. Huan Mingyue seemed to have seen some hope. She didn't want to stay here any longer. She felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. Yi Tianyan thought about it for a moment before smiling. That's a good idea. Taking the princess with us is a good choice. Following that, Yi Tianyan and the heavenly god Misfortune returned to the evil spirit puppet and left with Huan Mingyue. This thing of yours is really amazing. I don't know how you made it. I can't tell it's fake at all. But if we escape, then this thing of yours will be useless. In her eyes, this thing would be exposed when they escaped, so it would be useless. Perhaps I won't even need this thing to take us away. What if we just kill our way out? Yi Tianyan smiled. Huan Mingyue shook her head. This is the evil spirit race's headquarters, and there are evil spirit race beings all around. If you reveal even the slightest bit of your aura, they'll be able to sense it immediately. You will know when the time comes. Yi Tianyan did not explain too much and continued to bring Huan Mingyue away. Naturally, the god-binding chains on Huan Mingyue were undone. She regained her freedom of movement. She did not run, nor did she do anything reckless. Everything was just as she had said. She was indeed one of them. Even though she had the bloodline of the evil spirit race, she was more inclined to have the bloodline of the heaven-creating race. Where are we going now? The heavenly Misfortune god didn't know where Yi Tianyan was going. She had thought that Yi Tianyan was going to escape with his people, but who would have thought that he would be so calm and collected? Have you forgotten? Heavenly god Gukai, Yi Tianyan said with a smile. There were some things that couldn't be forgotten. The heavenly doom god faltered slightly before nodding. That's right, Gukai. Gukai caught her. If she didn't have some ability, she would have been dead. How could he not take revenge? Meanwhile, on one of the lower levels of the pagoda, a bunch of idiots. I told you to search for so long, but you still couldn't find the heavenly doom god? Gukai was extremely furious at his subordinates. Sorry, master. We've already tried our best to search, but we couldn't find any aura. Trash. All of you are trash. Gukai waved a hand, and all of the heavenly venerates were sent flying with a single slap. All of them vomited blood as they fell to the ground. I told you to search for some aura, but you can't even find the heavenly doom god's aura? All of the heavenly venerates were cursing in their hearts. He was the one who let them go, and they couldn't even find them, so how could they be blamed for this? However, they could only swallow this bitterness and couldn't say it out loud. If they really said it out loud, they would definitely be slapped to death. We will continue to search. They hurriedly got up and continued to kneel before Gukai. Then hurry up and search. Gukai glowered at them. Yes, master. They quickly got up and left as if they had been granted amnesty. How could they dare to stay here any longer? If they stayed any longer, they would most likely be slapped again. After they left, Gokai sat on a chair with an extremely dark expression. If word of this gets out, I'll lose all face. That heavenly doom god is truly uncanny to be able to escape even in such a situation. As expected of the daughter of the Fecta region lord. He slapped the chair so hard that it shattered. And that little brat, he's actually a descendant of the evil spirits. He probably won't come after me anymore. He was only worried about these two things. One was the heavenly doom god situation, and the other was Yi Tianyin. Just as he was thinking about this, two figures walked in from outside. There were guards following behind them, and they yelled at the same time. Master, Her Highness and Master Si Tianyin are here to see you. What? Before Gokai could react, Yi Tianyin and Huan Mingyue had already walked in. The guards couldn't even stop them, nor did they dare to. In terms of status, Yi Tianyin and Huan Mingyue were both of a higher status than Gokai, so they didn't need to report to anyone before they could come in at will. This applied to all evil spirit tribe cultivators. As long as they had a higher cultivation base and a higher status than you, they could come in at will. Even if you were cultivating in your room or doing something else, no one could stop them if they wanted to come in. This was the evil spirit tribe's way of doing things. Her Highness, Master Si Tianyin, what business do you two have here? Gokai quickly sprang up from his chair and made his way over to Yi Tianyin and the others in a few steps. He nodded and bowed respectfully without any hint of displeasure. His heart was cold, especially when he saw Yi Tianyin coming over. He knew that Yi Tianyin was coming for him. Not only did he come to settle scores with him, but he even brought Huan Mingyue with him. This meant that things were not as simple as they seemed. All of you can leave now. Huan Mingyue waved his hand and gestured for the guards to leave. Yes, Her Highness. They immediately obeyed Huan Mingyue's order and left, not daring to stay for even a moment longer. After they left, Heavenly God Gokai still had a smile on his face, but he directly said, Lord Evil Spirit C. This lowly subject didn't know that you were a descendant of Lord Evil God. This lowly subject was blind, so I hope that Lord will forgive this lowly subject's mistake. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to question you about your mistakes, Yi Tianyin said calmly. Thank you so much, Her Highness. You are so broad-minded that I can't even hope to catch up. Gokai nodded and bowed. In fact, even he felt disgusted, but he could only do this. Don't thank me just yet. I'm indeed not here to question you about your mistakes. I'm here to take your life. A cold light flashed in Yi Tianyin's eyes. In the next instant, all of them sprang into action. Heavenly God Misfortune charged out and swung the God-binding rope again. Huan Mingyue also unleashed a few palm strikes in succession to seal Gokai's power. Chapter 1656. Gokai had never thought that such a situation would occur. Not only were there humans, but there was also the evil spirit clan, which looked very special. The most important thing was that Huan Mingyue had attacked together. That was the strangest part. The human clan and the evil spirit clan had never interacted with each other. Now they had joined hands to deal with him? Moreover, what was going on with the evil spirit clan? Why was he just watching from the side? What's going on? Gokai was dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, it was already too late. With so many seals, even Gokai couldn't easily break them. It would take him a long time to break them. The prerequisite for breaking them was that they didn't reinforce the seals. But was that possible? Thus, Gokai was already caught. He had no chance to escape. You don't need to know what's going on. Yi Tianyin threw him into the evil spirit puppet space. At the same time, they quickly went in. After tidying up, Yi Tianyin nodded at Huan Mingyue and followed them out. When the guards outside saw them come out so quickly, they couldn't help but be puzzled. Don't go in. Gokai is reflecting on his mistakes. Unless he is summoned, no one is allowed to go in and disturb him, Huan Mingyue said. Yes, Your Highness. They all knelt down and promised that they would definitely guard this place and not let anyone in. After warning them, they quickly left this place. After leaving this place for a while, Yi Tianyin let Huan Mingyue enter the evil spirit puppet space. Then he began to fly toward the exit. He couldn't use the teleportation divine stone here. The surroundings were filled with pitch-black energy, so he couldn't easily pass through this place to leave. Thus, he could only find the exit. After leaving, he could use the teleportation divine stone. He was confident that he could escape with Huan Mingyue mainly because of the teleportation divine stone. His speed definitely couldn't surpass the evil emperor. He could easily catch up with them. If he used the teleportation divine stone, it would be different. He could disappear on the spot and go wherever he wanted. Even if the evil emperor sensed Huan Mingyue's location, he would need to spend time to fly over. Moreover, he wasn't escaping to that place. He was escaping to the Three Realms' divine domain. With the absolute defense barrier, he could protect Huan Mingyue for 1,000 years. The only problem was whether or not it could isolate the heretic god's divine sense. That was another matter. If the evil spirits were controlling Huan Mingyue from the outside, it wouldn't be a good thing. Even if we enter this space, we will still be sensed. As long as we move a little further away, he will be able to sense us immediately, Huan Mingyue reminded him. It seems that you have been captured many times, right? Yi Tianyan looked at her and said, Yes, I've done it many times. As soon as I leave this area, I'll immediately sense it. The furthest I managed to escape was this area, but I didn't run very far before I was immediately found. Huan Mingyue looked at them and said, So if you want to run, you still have time to change your mind. Once you leave a certain range, you will be detected immediately. Huan Mingyue said, trying to persuade. Evil Yi Tian was. Aye, Emperor. Don't worry. What you need to think about now is how to get rid of the absolute slave contract. Yi Tianyan smiled lightly and said, You can rest assured about this. What you need to consider now is how to break this absolute slave contract. There was nothing in the world that couldn't be broken. It all depended on the price one had to pay. Some were very difficult to break. After all, the contract was like a god seal. As long as one knew how to break it, they could break it bit by bit. Enough time. Yi Tianyan squinted. If you want to break it by yourself, it will be difficult. You will have to hide. Enough time. Yi Tianyan squinted. If you want to break it by yourself, it won't be easy. You will have to hide. I think that even if I take you out, your chances of escaping are very slim. No matter how slim. How will you know if you don't try? Huan Mingyue looked at him and said, At least if you try, there is hope, right? Especially if we can get out of his control, we might have some hope. Even so, she knew it would be too difficult. Evil Emperor was so strong. If she stayed in one place for a while, he would find her immediately. This was like a game of cat and mouse. It all depended on whether the mouse could run fast. If I help you and help you stabilize and not worry about Evil Emperor's pursuit, you will join my force. How about that? Yi Tianyan had said so much, but that was what he wanted to say. Join your force? Huan Mingyue stilled. She hadn't expected Yi Tianyan to make such an invitation. Your force? Aren't you afraid of being destroyed? Or can you accept my bloodline? My force isn't so easily destroyed. As for your bloodline, as long as you agree, no one will dare to touch you. Yi Tianyan's tone was powerful. She felt convinced. Since you don't mind, I have nothing else to say. As long as you are willing, I will join your force. A faint smile appeared on Huan Mingyue's face, and it was as if all the snow and ice had melted away. Not only did she have the bloodline of darkness, but she was also being hunted down by the evil emperor. If someone was willing to take her in, how could she refuse? As long as she had the courage to do so, she was willing to join. Heavenly God Misfortune was completely dumbstruck. She felt like Yi Tianyan was far too gutsy. If the evil emperor were to attack them, they would definitely be destroyed. What force would be able to withstand such a powerful evil spirit tribe? In particular, their princess had been taken away, so they would definitely be as mad as they could be. Are you insane? You have to be responsible for your own force. Heavenly God Misfortune transmitted her voice. Don't worry, they won't be able to destroy my force. A confident smile appeared on Yi Tianyan's face. Is your force very powerful? Could it be that it's a 5th grade god realm, and one of the more powerful ones at that? Heavenly God Misfortune's brows furrowed. Even so, their princess has been captured, and she's the key to opening the barrier. I don't think they'll give up just like that. They'll definitely wage a battle to the death. No, my force is not a 5th grade god realm. It's a 4th grade god realm, and it's one of the weaker ones. Tianyan transmitted his voice back with a smile. You still dare to take her in? You're basically harming yourself and your subordinates. Heavenly God Misfortune was a little enraged. She was naturally very displeased with how irresponsible he was, and her impression of Tianyan had been completely refreshed. She had thought that Tianyan was very responsible and knew how to shoulder heavy responsibilities, but who would have thought that he would be a hero? No, I've already made preparations. Have you heard of the 3 Realms God Realm? Tianyan smiled. The 3 Realms God Realm? The one that can't be broken into? Heavenly God Misfortune was dumbstruck. She finally understood why Tianyan was so confident. She had tried to break the barrier before, but it had still ended in failure. In her eyes, without the power of an invincible divine emperor, there was no way to break through the barrier. Who would have thought that Tianyan's force was the 3 Realms God Realm? She was instantly rendered speechless, and she had no intention of dissuading him. Chapter 1657. Heavenly God Misfortune rolled his eyes with a resigned expression. That's indeed true. Your divine domain has been blessed by the heavens ever since you ascended, and it possesses an extremely difficult barrier to break. Our Fecta divine realm has secretly researched this barrier a long time ago, and it is a power that belongs to the heavenly Tao. In the face of this power, it will be very difficult to break through unless you become a Godtharch or are infinitely close to becoming a Godtharch. Heavenly God Misfortune gave this barrier a very high evaluation, but how could it not be? Such a terrifying barrier had been specially given to him by the system, and it could protect his force for over 1,000 years. The problem is, how long can this barrier last? Do you know? Heavenly God Misfortune asked. If it's about to disappear, it won't be a good thing. You'll immediately be in trouble. I'm not sure about that, but it's probably more than 100 years. At the very least, there's no sign of it disappearing yet, Tianyan replied. 100 years is too short, but at least there's some time. Heavenly God Misfortune nodded. If that was the case, then Huanmingyue would undoubtedly be the safest place to hide. However, 100 years was undoubtedly a very short period of time. It wouldn't be a problem for the evil emperor to wait for another 100 years to come and destroy them. After some discussion, they soon arrived at the exit. He really only had 2 choices now. He could either give up, or he could escape with his people. Tianyan didn't even think about it. He would escape with Huanmingyue. Even though the evil spirit puppet would be destroyed, it was still a good thing to be able to save Huanmingyue. At the very least, the barrier wouldn't continue to be opened, and more powerful evil spirit tribe beings wouldn't be able to infiltrate this place. Hurry up and tie me up in case I'm controlled. Huanmingyue signaled for them to tie her up and not move. All right. Heavenly God Misfortune immediately tossed out God-binding chains to tie Huanmingyue up. However, this was not a heavenly God spirit treasure, but a heavenly venerate level treasure. After tying her up, all types of seals were placed on her, making her extremely secure. They all knew what Huanmingyue meant. After being ordered to return, she would definitely rush out immediately. As such, they had to seal her up to prevent any problems from arising. Meanwhile, the situation outside. Lord Evil Spirit C. When Tianyan came over, the guard shouted respectfully. News of Tianyan's identity had already spread. Basically everyone knew who he was, so they wouldn't stop him. Tianyan nodded. Without saying anything else, he flew towards the exit. He could come and go as he pleased. After all, he was the descendant of the evil spirits. According to his status, he was at least at the level of an elder. Naturally, he could come and go as he pleased. When he went out, the guard immediately followed his orders and reported Tianyan's movements. Meanwhile, the evil emperor who was in the tower raised an eyebrow, and he frowned as he said, "That girl wants to slip out again. Looks like if I don't teach her a good lesson, she won't know what it means to be obedient." Immediately after, he released his divine thought and controlled the nether illusion moon to come back. As soon as it was released, Huan Mingyue, who was tied up, immediately wriggled. He wanted to break free, but he was tightly bound by the god-binding rope. He could not break free at all. Boom. At this moment, the most powerful energy erupted from Huan Mingyue's body. His heavenly god-level power was released in an attempt to break free from the god-binding rope. The extremely evil power of the evil spirit tribe continued to be released from her body, and it eroded the god-binding rope. In the blink of an eye, a small portion of the god-binding rope and the seal had been eroded. This speed was astonishing to them. So powerful. They all cried out in surprise. It had to be said that the power of inheriting the Heaven Creator clan's power and the evil emperor's power was rather terrifying when combined. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the seal would be broken. I have to escape the range of his divine thought as soon as possible. Otherwise, this seal will definitely be broken. Heavenly God Misfortune's expression was grave. She didn't expect Huan Mingyue to be so powerful. Huan Mingyue was completely out of control now. Her eyes had lost focus, and she was frantically trying to break free. The order she received was to hurry back. Since she was trapped, she naturally had to use all her power to break free. Thankfully, Heavenly God Misfortune was quite powerful, and she was able to temporarily suppress Huan Mingyue with the mystic techniques of the Fecta Sacred Realm. If it were any other normal seal, it would have been broken a long time ago. Haha, you're all dead. The evil emperor will catch up very soon. Gokai guffawed. He could already see the evil emperor catching up. The princess had been captured, so the evil emperor would definitely catch up. Shut up. Yi Tianyun slapped him viciously, and Gokai was sent flying with a loud slap. He tumbled a few times and threw up a mouthful of blood. Who knew how many of his teeth had been knocked out? He was in a bad situation after being sealed, and he could be easily injured. Cough cough cough. You're all dead. Gokai was still laughing, and his eyes were filled with resentment. Just imagining the scene of Yi Tianyun and the others being tortured to death by the evil emperor gave him boundless pleasure. Yi Tianyun ignored him and passed through the passageway at an even faster speed. It would take some time before he could escape. As long as he could leave this passageway, he could use the teleportation divine stone. He had to be fast. The evil emperor sensed that Huan Mingyue was getting further and further away, and he was very confused. Strange, why is she getting further and further away? Is she being controlled? She's still in the passageway. Who would take her away? Reporting to the evil emperor, Lord Si Wailing has left. A guard came in and reported. Si Wailing left. The evil emperor frowned. Did he take Huan Mingyue away? Damn it, what is this guy thinking? The evil emperor quickly disappeared and rushed toward the passageway at an extremely fast speed. He arrived at the passageway in almost a short while. This was his territory, and he could arrive at the passageway in the blink of an eye. He had set up a teleportation formation in this area, so he could go anywhere he wanted to go quickly. He could see Yi Tianyun from afar, and he quickly ran out of the passageway. Stop! The evil emperor angrily roared, and chased with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, he closed the distance between them. Such terrifying speed far surpassed that of Yi Tianyun. The evil spirit puppet's cultivation wasn't very high, so no matter how fast it was much slower than a heavenly god. He caught up so quickly? Yi Tianyun turned his head to look. No wonder Huan Mingyue couldn't escape so many times. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.